Unmute that one. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome along to another SOP Sunday afternoon. It is round number 5 of the British Motorsport, the British GT Championship. Round 5, it's my beloved Spa. After Oulton Park, Silverstone, Donington and Snetterton, it is the home of the world's finest racing here in Belgium, despite what others might tell you. We've got a phenomenal competition so far. GT3s and GT4s joining us on track and joining us once again while carrying out intermittent stewarding duties is Mr. SOP himself, and I'm sure looking forward to this race at his beloved Spa as well. Best track in Belgium. It's Mr. Simon Backus. How are we doing, Simon?
Hello, good evening. The worst track in Belgium, you mean, right?
You just can't get the staff these days, can you, peeps?
Yeah, looking forward to this one. As I was saying in the driver briefing, the only round not in the UK of the GT travel Spa Francorchamps for, I guess what they used to call it, the Spa Race Week, where they have the British GT Championship there a couple of days before the Spa 24 hours. Of course, that's now changed because the British GT Championship heads to Portugal and Portimao for 2023. But that's not a game. That's not a track in ACC. So this is the last time anybody can have a real track championship unless Kunos bring Portimao to ACC. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, that would be nice if they did. Portimao is a phenomenal track. Good fun in F4s. But yeah, it is. Where was I going with that one there? I'm not sure where I was going. We've got some times coming in. Let's have a quick look at the tables. Completely lost between the thought there. But at the moment, leading the way in the GT4s, it is the McLeod Racing Team in the Ginettas, and it's SOP and another Ginetta in second place, only 12 points adrift. They do have a handsome 40-point gap over Team Black Snow Racing in third place. Simulation Esports with a couple of entries in the top 10. SOP Esports in at 5th as well. F1 Memes definitely worth watching, and B-Sim Racing as well at 9th and 10th in the GT4 Championship at the moment. In the GT3s, it's Connection Lost Racing in the BMW, who are leading the way ahead of a pair of SOP cars, the Porsche and the Aston Martin, sitting second and third. The team in third, only a point ahead of Wild Things Racing, also in an Aston Martin. They've got a 19-point gap back to Race Ventura and the team Rookie Monsters in 5th and 6th. Both of those teams missing the first round. Team Rookie Monsters making up for that with a win last time round. They will be gifted 30 seconds stationary time in the pits. We'll come to that in a second. 7th is Team Shumi Skins. We've got Vivid Global Racing in 8th. F1 Memes, again, a 9th position in the GT3 class. And Simulation Esport making an appearance in the top 10. In the BMW, 36 points with not many races left on the calendar. Just touched on it there, Simon, but we do once again. One of the things we like to do as SOP, if you do well in the race, we like to punish you in the next race. So we do have a new kind of success palace that we're using. Or certainly it's new to us. Usually we've gone for weight, but this time we've gone for time, Simon.
Yes, we have. We've gone for the success penalties via time penalties in the pit stop. What they use in the real British GT Championships. We just need to quickly correct you. It's only 20 seconds for the winners, so 20, 15 and 10. I think 30 seconds would be too much for any team to make up in a race. Race. Yeah. It's 20 seconds for the winners of the previous round, 15 seconds if they finish second, and 10 seconds if they finish third, which will be added to the teams after lap number 1, and then that'll be there for them to serve when they the one and only mandatory stop.
Your microphone's dropping in and out ever so slightly, Simon. Are you on Bluetooth or is there?
Oh, is it? It might
A
be
fan?
me talking or something. I'm not sure.
Oh, there you go. That just suddenly got very clear. Whatever you just changed there, let's stick with that, please. Thank you very much.
I didn't change anything. Yeah,
No.
it's just me mumbling.
Right, okay, there we go.
Yeah.
I was trying to cover your blushes. Look at Tavanari, that Aston is OP. Timur Chulukin with the follow. Thank you very much. We actually got a follow from... That's how bad my eyes are. I've got to get up and lean across the room. I've got that many screens and that much open. Joynex, thank you for the follow as well, just as we were going live. Dark Destroyer in the chat. How we doing, P? Fresh from his racing with Chad earlier. We've got Luke in the chat. So we've decided we'll do poorly this race to avoid ballast on the next race. Good thinking, Luca. But I mean, it's going to be easy for you guys to finish outside the top 3, given that you've got that 20 seconds of ballast. But that would only be easy if it was someone like myself. For you guys, you'll probably still win by a comfortable margin. Although in saying that, there is quite the field of drivers out there. This is the number 1 GT4 at the moment. It's a 15-minute split qualifying, and it is teams of 2 as well. So when the drivers come into the pit, they will be handing over. Anything else in the pit stops, it is entirely up to them. Whatever they do over the 2-hour race, as long as 2 drivers take part. There isn't even a driver stint timer, so you could have one driver do an hour and a half and one do 30 minutes. It's entirely up to the teams, as long as both of their participants take part. At the moment, it's Christoph Verstappen who is leading the way in qualifying at 9/10 of a second. The McLeod Racing team really stamping their authority in the GT4 class. Matthias Sarampat out in the BMW in Black Snow Racing in second. Then it is Kanika for the Spinala team sitting in third. We've got Matthias Kaczynski for Simulation Esport currently in fourth, and Pereira for the GT Marquis team currently in fifth. Kildashev, Riley Murdoch not set a time yet either, but you can rest assured when he does, it will be a very quick one. Kildashev just coming through Le Source. And of course we also have Josh Barrett yet to set a time as well. But that will be it for the GT4s.
Yeah, and just to touch on the number 41, John, I mean, until we see the other 3 teams set a lap, he's 1 second clear out in front as Riley pips into the post. I was just about to mention, you know, the number 41 that was on pole position, they've got the 20-second success penalty to serve in their pit stop as well. The 888 machine finished second last time around, so they've got 15 seconds to serve. And the number 14, who are still yet to set a lap, they finished third, so they've got a 10-second penalty to serve, and that's the top 3 from the previous round. It's pretty much been the same protagonists at most rounds, and while we were missing the Simulation Esports teams from Snetterton, some of them are back here today. They're the ones that have been leading the championship, so it'll be really interesting to see with them back in the mix how they get on, because they have no success penalties and they've done pretty well up until this point. So yeah, these 3 teams that done well at Snetterton are really going to be hampered by those penalties, because back in the mix are Simulation Esports as well.
They certainly are, and I did say that Riley Murdoch would set a very quick time when he did. He's taken pole position. And Yevgeny Kildashev is on for a quick one as well. So too Pereira. He's been building time right the way through the lap as he comes through Stavolo along towards Blanchimont. He's making an assault on the front 2 rows of the grid with the time that he's got, and Kildashev as well, actually. This is going to be a very quick time from Kildashev unless this data is incorrect. I don't think it is. This could be pole position. Let's see as he comes across the line. No, it's not. So it was slightly incorrect then. But he did set himself a time, got himself into the top 6 within 1.3. Now it is Pereira's turn, coming out the last chicane. And in fact, with the time he had, he is going to be a bit equal with Kildashev. So very close between the top 3, then a bit of a gap back to Sarampa in 4th, but then very close from Sarampa back to Pereira. Barrett still to set a time. Still got 4 minutes left of the qualifying session. Of course, as long as the drivers cross the start-finish line with more than 15 minutes left on the clock, they can finish their lap. The GT3s will be chomping at the bit to get themselves out there. 8 GT4s and 16 GT3s. And what we're going to see there is, because of the layout with the lap, Simon, a lot of these big long straights, some of the times when you're watching GT3s and GT4s, the lap times can sometimes be fairly close, considering. But here at Spa, there is a fairly monumental difference between the times that the GT3s and the GT4s get round here.
Yeah, it really does show the difference in quality of drivers and teams. You know, one of the longest laps on any calendar within ACC. If you're off the pace here, because the lap is, you know, 25, 30, up to 40% longer than most other venues, that 1 second or half a second that you're off usually can turn into 1.5 to 2 seconds here, because there's just so much more of a lap to be done. And that's what we're seeing right now with the difference in qualifying. These teams have not been this far apart the entire championship, but now there's 2 seconds separating only 8 teams in the GT4 class, which is quite a lot.
It is, yeah, from what we're used to seeing, it certainly is. And like I say, the difference between the GT4s and the GT3s themselves, it's going to be exaggerated because of the length of the lap. So many straights, the Stavolo exit on the way on the back straight to Blanchimont, down through here as well. The extra grip that the GT3s have got through Puon as well. Definitely all massively beneficial.
Yeah, it's usually around 10 seconds the gap between GT3s and GT4s on a normal circuit. I think it's usually between 12 to 14, maybe even up to 15 seconds, depending on how esport level you want to go with the driver. I mean, 2:30 looking like it's going to be a pole position time for the GT4s, whereas in the GT3s you're looking at the very top end, the 2:16, maybe some drivers can get into a 2:15 if they're really on the pace. Obviously, track temperatures and air temperatures play a difference in that. It's pretty hot here today, 33 degrees is the track temperature, so not as optimal as you could be. But yeah, I still reckon there's going to be maybe a 13 to 14 second gap between the GT3s and GT4s.
Yeah, there will be, as I was saying, a fairly monstrous gap. Just looking at the timing board there, Verstappen had his hands on extending that gap there, but he's lost it in the last chicane. Riley Murdoch will be hoping not to repeat that same fate. And yeah, for some reason the timing boards are showing these guys are losing over a second at that last corner. They are going to have one more crack each. Matthias Serenpai's just got a quicker exit out of La Source, so he will be looking to improve there. But it is really at the moment a battle between Murdoch and Verstappen. Kaczynski still in with a shot then, within 6:10, certainly the closest of the chasing pack at the moment in the Porsche. But the Ginettas have done well all season and they're doing well again. Good afternoon to everyone that's appearing in the chat. We have M. Dolgop. My apologies. M. Dolgopayatov. Let's go Kildashev is the message. Energetic hi. I want to. Oh, goodness me. Simon, could you do mod things, please? 2 seconds, actually. I can do that. Hey, mod view.
Yes, I can do mod things. What do you
But
need to
oh
do?
no!
Why have you banned Luca Taverna?
I've just unbanned them because somebody typed in the chat moved. Ah no, Luca, I'm so sorry. I tried to ban that guy with the dodgy advert. Ugh. Oh, Luca, can you say hello? I think I've unbanned him. Please tell me I've unbanned him. Goodness gracious me.
Luca, if you're out there, please let us know.
Luca Tavernari is not currently banned from this channel. Right, okay. Wow, whose idea was it to put me in charge? Raven did a boo-boo. Yes, he did, that destroyer. He's only one of the quickest drivers on the planet, really. I mean, yeah. Whew. Sweating. Josh Barrett, he's looking to put a hurt on the back row of the grid. He's currently got enough time there to get himself ahead of 7th. But
Yeah,
Simon...
surprised that the number 14 machine qualifying in last place at the minute. They finished third. They finished third at the last round, so they're going to be really stumped in this race with the 10-second success penalty that they got to serve in their pit stop as well. Not an ideal day for them. I mean, Porsches, well, you can see 5 Porsches. I mean, Kaczynski's the only one, but he's still almost 7/10ths off pole position. So definitely not an ideal day for the Porsche machines here. All 8 of those drivers. Oh, Barrett did improve. He's 1.7 seconds off the lead there. So, I mean, you got the top 3, and then you got the best of the rest. They're over a second off the top 3. So, I mean, Kaczynski and Kadzalia for Simulation Esports, they must be counting their lucky stars right now because they're sandwiched in between those top 2 teams who have both got a 20-second and 15-second penalty to serve in their pit stops. And then the rest of the guys behind who they've clearly got an advantage over. So it's really going to be interesting to see how that develops in the race. And something I touched on as well, actually, John, in the driver's briefing. Obviously, lap 1 incidents. This is the race where you do not want to be picking up a drive-through penalty because the pit lane is excruciating and extremely long for these drivers to serve any form of extra stop. If they get themselves a drive-through for lap 1 incidents, you can count them out of the race entirely.
Well, so here's the thing, Simon. Interesting fact. Yes, it is a monstrously long pit lane at Spa. There is absolutely no denying that. But because of the length of the lap, it only takes 69% of your lap, or 69% of a lap to get a pit stop done. Whereas at Zolder, it's 77% of your lap you lose. Laguna Seca, you lose 72%. And at Brands Hatch, you lose exactly the same amount of time per lap in the pits as you do at Spa.
Interesting.
Yeah, so there you go. Because of the length of the lap, as you say, it is a monstrously long lap. But yeah, you would lose 69% of your lap time, or it's the equivalent of 69% of a lap in the pits. And like you see, yeah, Zolder 77%, and Brands Hatch is exactly the same time lost, percentage of time lost per lap spent in the pits as it Spa. So yeah, it is a weird one given how long it does, but it does. I'm sure you could testify. Simon, whether it doesn't take much out your lap or not, it feels like an absolute eternity making your way through that pit stop, especially when you come into the pit stop nice and slow and then you get to the right hand turn and think, right, I'm halfway there, almost done.
Yeah, exactly, that's it. That's a mentality type of situation you're in, because you think your race is completely over, but in fact it's no different to any other circuit in that sense. Then you're just as much in or out of it as you would be at any other track, but because it takes so long to serve a pit stop here, it seems like it's worse than it actually is.
Yeah, it really does. The GT3s are starting to put some times in. We're already into the 17s. Chalukin getting a shout out on chat. His first time has put him on provisional pole. Adrian Bourdon in second place. There is Chulukin there for the F1 Memes Racing team. 28 hundredths of a second and 48 hundredths back Peter Brett for SOP. Luca Tavanari, fresh from his unbanning in the chat. Sorry, Luca. Half a tenth off pole position. Leon Seeley. 2/10. Ben Langford at the half-second mark. Hajo Horman at the half-second mark as well. Brett into the pits. 13 times we've seen set at the moment. James Rollins, the back marker for the GT3s at the minute. Still a lot of quick drivers to get their time set though. Martin Larenk certainly being one of them. Connection Lost Racing leading the championship at the moment, of course.
Yeah, I expect the Porsches to struggle here as well. For how fast, you know, Peter Brett and Thomas Morant are, and how fast the rookie monsters are with Luca Tabanari and co. I still think that the Porsches are just going to struggle a bit here. I mean, these are only the first banker laps that these teams have put in. I reckon they'll easily get another half a second to 8/10 out of those laps. And the Porsche is just going to struggle against the likes of the McLarens, the BMWs, the Astons. And especially because, you know, going back to the success penalties, Luca Tabanari won last round. He's got that 20-second penalty to serve in the pit stops. Connection Lost Racing, they've got 15 seconds for finishing second. And then Leon Seeley, the 324, they've got 10 seconds. So again, the title protagonists, they've all got success penalties to serve. So we may see a completely new winner here, and it could be coming in the form of a BMW. It seems to be that right now, BMW is the car to be in because, well, we saw how many BMWs were at the front of the field in our sprint series, John, and we're seeing it here now in our endurance series as well, the British GT Championships. The BMW seems to be coming out on top.
It does, yeah, and right on cue. It was actually, I thought Ben Langford was about to ruin the BMW party there. He was carrying a lot of time through Blanchimont. It just seemed to evaporate into that final chicane. He does have another 2/10, but he now finds himself a second off the pace as Martin Larenk, who I did mention was leading the championship. And again, he hadn't set a time. He will set a quick one, and he has done so. 2:17.0 to get him 2.5 tenths ahead of Bourdon and Tavanari. Despite protestations that the Porsche might struggle around here, this one is fortunate. It does have Luca Tavanari at the helm, so is still likely to do well. Tamir Chulukin then finds himself down in fourth in the McLaren with Peter Brett in fifth place. His teammate Leon Seeley and Aston just leaving the pits. Sixth position with 6 minutes to go. Horman, Langford now in eighth place. Like I say, he was definitely threatening the front row of the grid until Larenk put that time in. And I reckon the Aston he's guiding definitely good for a few more tenths of a second. Seeley as well. We've got notifications going left, right and centre actually. Let me just catch up with some of those. Evolution treble 78, thank you for the follow. We've got Diamond Clump. Hopefully that's somewhere close. Please feel free to put a pronunciation in the chat. And also M Dolgopayatov. Easy. Thank you for the follow as well. Thanks to everybody cheering on their teammates. Diamond Clog in English. Phenomenal. There we go. Hopefully I didn't butcher that too much for you. But Diamond Clog, welcome in. Is that what Cinderella wore in Holland? There we go.
These dad jokes, John.
These dad jokes, I know it. Yeah, for anybody's wondering, I am a father, so it is okay for me to crack these jokes and still be broadcasting, just in case anybody's panicking and wants to run to Ofcom. I am actually a dad, yeah, so there we go. Christian Ekman carrying some time as well. He's looking to get himself inside the top 15. Such is the pace, there we go, 2 minutes 20.1. So that, to me, I would consider that a reasonable pace. 3 seconds, that is. Himself, Tim Joney and Christian Ekman almost identical times. 2 minute 20.147 and 150. So nothing separating the bottom two and very little separating the top two. Bourdon has gone a bit quicker. He's got to within 3/4 of a tenth. And he has eased the grip that Luca Tavanari was beginning to get on that second place. The BMW is asserting themselves. Chulukin in the McLaren. Peter Brett back out on track. Ben Langford has gone quicker again. He's got himself up into 6th then, ahead of Seeley, who is on an outlap. Horman down on his time. Jordan Daly. Well, alrighty then. It's Race Ventura. It's Jordan Daly. He's just coming through the final sectors. He's looking green on the deltas. This is certainly going to put the McLaren right in the mix, and in fact, he could be close to keeping Chulukin company in the other McLaren across the finish line. Oh, not quite. Didn't carry as much time as he was promising there. 8:10 still though, within pole position. Has got himself up into 8th ahead of Horman. Joining for Team FWR. They are 10th at the minute. Kashik Tarash for the Iran Racing Team in 11th. It's SOP Motorsports with Mark Bunyan in 12th. Simulation, I've got Adam Ostrashar in 13th position. It's Wizy for the Vivid Global Racing Team in 14th. Corvig and Christian Ekman 15th and 16th position. So we do have times from all of our drivers. And yeah, at the minute, Simon, as we were saying, the pace differential between the GT3s and GT4s really is more exaggerated at this track. 15 seconds currently between the front of the GT4s and the back of the front of the GT3s and the back of the GT4s. And the GT3s are still threatening to go a little bit quicker with 3 minutes to go.
Yeah, coming up to the final lap or two now from the GT3s. I expect maybe Laurent and Bourdon to get into the 16s if they can nail a perfect lap. The top 10 are pretty much separated by 8/10, and then you've got the rest of the field separated by a second and a half. Like you said, those gaps definitely more prevalent here at the back end of the grid of the GT3s. I'm surprised to see the McLarens not doing as well as I thought they would be.
Well, I tell you, you say that, Simon. Tamir Chulukin may be about to restore your faith in the British manufacturer. He's coming in the final chicane, and that is blisteringly quick. How has he got that stop? He's lost a bit of time on exit. I did think he was a bit later on the brakes than he needed to be there. He's crossed the line and he's gone. Pole position, Simon. 2:16.950. McLaren, Simon Baggas at imsorry.com.
Yeah.
You can.
There we go. Okay then. No such thing as a commentator's curse.
No such thing at all. And Tamir Chulukin getting plenty of cheers in the chat, and he now finds himself just over a tenth ahead of the rest of the field. And I can tell you, through the source, his delta is green. So he is looking to go quicker. Currently also green, Mark Bunyan, Ostashar's looking quick, Daly and Leon Seeley also carrying time in their pocket. And in fact, Seeley really has found the line he needed into the campus complex. Oh, I tell you what, this one's going to be close as well. And Tamir Chulukin, that is some sectors he is setting. Martin Larenk as well. Look at Tavanari on the bubble too. So all these drivers up at the top threatening to go quicker again. Larenk has got enough time in his pocket to take pole position. Seeley has got enough time to get himself onto potentially the second row of the grid. Row 3 looks not bad. Mark Bunyan's got 3/10. Ostashar's up to 11th. Bunyan out the last chicane. Brett and Langford both in the pits then. 5th and 6th will be the best that they can hope for. Leon Seeley will be hoping. Oh, 5th position. I did say the second row-ish. He got close. Martin Larenk wants pole position or nothing. It's BMW or bust for Larenk right on the outside edge of the track limits there. He does have a McLaren in front of him, Vivid Global Racing. That's Waizi, currently 1.7 off the pace. This is the closing exchanges. Cholukin up on his time as well. These two look like they're about to set identical times. They're going to be separated by the fourth integer. Larenk around the last corner. Was he in the dirty air? Was he in the slipstream? Oh, wow. That's a lot of pace he's just found. I think Cholukin's... Oh, Martin Larenk with a 2:16.6, Simon. Cholukin into the pits. Nobody is even close to touching that. We can pretty safely say that is pole position for Larenk. Seeley might get himself still onto the second row of the grid, but the BMW, after the scare from the McLaren that could, it's BMW dominance established in quali once again, Simon.
Yeah, fantastic lap from Larenk in the 404. That is exactly what they needed to try and control the field from the front. They do have the larger success penalty to serve in the pit stops, so they'll be looking to break away at the front of the field at the beginning of this race. They certainly going to have their hands full, because that McLaren is looking rather racy in second place right now, as I don't think there's many more drivers. No, that's it. Every driver's come to a stop that could
no, Joyny.
snag pole. Okay, yep, one more on the
Tim
track.
Joyny,
okay.
yeah, he's in 10th. I'm not getting a relative. This is he only just came out the pits a lap or two ago, so don't actually have a relative delta on what his time's doing at the moment. Dusty Tavanari's still out on track. I don't think... Oh, well, he's not going to have time to finish this lap. 50 seconds left of the session. But it is Joyny through Blanchimont. He will be able to finish this. Can he make an assault on the top 5? 1.6 seconds off the pace. 4/10 he needs to find just to get himself up to 9th. That's right on the outer edge. Hangs on in there in 10th position. So there is the final qualifying order then. So it is Larenk with a 16.63 tenths ahead of the rest of the field. Cholukin leading the charge, separating the BMW of Larenk and Adrian Bourdon. Half a second back. Then it's Tavanari, Seeley, Daly, Brett, Langford, Horman and Joyny. We just saw crossing the line. Osterschars for Simulation and Kasikteris for Iran Racing. 11th and 12th. Wheezy for Vivid Global. Then Mark Bunyan, Corvig and Ekman bringing up the rear for the GT3s. And just a quick look there, 13.6 seconds between the lead GT3 and the lead GT4 car. So it just goes to show you, as Simon and I were saying, how much of a difference there is around this extremely long lap between these two cars, which all leads to on-track action, Simon. The point I've been leading to this whole time is we're going to see a lot of cars being lapped. The GT3s are going to be upon the GT4s pretty quickly. So once they do catch up, it is going to be a solid train of cars going past one another.
Yeah. It's going to be around 9 laps, maybe, I think. Maybe the 10th lap of the race that the GT3s will be catching back up to the GT4s. So then that'll make things extra interesting, especially if there's a battle going on for the podium positions. 2-hour race. I mean, there's not going to be too much in strategy, I wouldn't assume. I would think most teams are going to stop at the halfway mark. That'll be 60 minutes. I mean, there's no stint timer, but the usual 65 minutes, 70 minutes would be the maximum in the GT3s, especially if they're changing tyres. Obviously the GT4s, they could pretty much go the whole race without needing to stop. It's just the fact that they do need to make a mandatory driver change in the pit stop for the sake of needing to make a stop. So yeah, that's going to be interesting with the GT4 field more so than the GT3s, because every team can make a stop. I would probably say after the half-hour mark, that's when we could see GT4s coming into the pits from that point on, because every team can do a good 90 minutes to 100 minutes on one tank of fuel in the GT4s. It's just whether they want to go 90 to 100 minutes on one set of tyres. So we'll see how that one plays out as well.
Yeah, we will, we will indeed. We'll see what strategies are employed, who spends more time behind the wheel. So during the race, as Simon was saying, there is the driver swap aspect. That is the only mandatory requirement in the pit stop phase of the races, no matter how long they are. This one is a 2-hour race, so there's no driver stint timer imposed. It's up to the teams what they do in the pits and how long each driver spends behind the wheel, as long as both drivers do spend time behind the wheel. They're on track at the moment. We are here for round 5. It is Spa. We've still got Brands Hatch, where we've just found out, has a pit lane just as punishing as Spa. And Donington Park, we're going back there to mirror round number 3, just like the British GT Championship, and that is where we will end our pursuit. Up at the front of that pursuit is Connection Lost Racing. It is Tom Bryant that will lead the way for the team leading the way in the GT3 Championship, chased, of course, by the 2 SOP teams. And it will be Christoph Verstappen for McLeod Racing Team. Again, the team leading the championship, leading the way at the start of the race. 24 retinas, 8 of them GT4, 16 GT3s, 48 drivers poised, 1 hyper-excitable Scottish commentator, and 1 poor Welshman that's got to split stewarding duties at Spa with commentating as well. But as far as things go, Simon, obviously the whole downhill, uphill turn 1, complete insanity. But other than that, Spa, generally speaking, not too bad, because there is clear places you can overtake here, given the size of the lap, and it should be relatively easy. You would hope for the GT3s to get their way past the GT4s under blue flags.
Yeah, I don't expect many issues with lap traffic, with class traffic, even with battling within class for position. Like you said, it's pretty much just the dreaded Eau Rouge Rodillion to start the race on lap 1, where all the cars are so bunched up. That can cause a bit of a havoc, especially if there's a bottleneck, because the last thing you want to be doing is braking hard up that Eau Rouge and then causing everyone to crash into you behind you. But apart from that, we should see a fantastic race, plenty of overtaking opportunities, plenty of opportunities where people are going to be in the slipstream. So I am very hopeful for a very exciting race, especially between, I'd probably say, you could say that the top 5 teams can perhaps break away from the rest of the field in the GT3 pack, perhaps. And then I think the top 3 teams in the GT4s may pull away from the rest of the pack. It all depends who's in the car in the opening stint of the races, and that's going to be a big factor in how the race is going to unfold, because you can put your fastest driver in first, or you can put the driver that's not so fast in for the first stint because everybody's closer together. If you haven't got a success penalty to serve, what's your strategy going to be there? You're just going to try and consolidate your own pace because you know you're going to jump teams in the pit stop window. You got to think that the teams who have got those success penalties are going to try and break away at the beginning of this race to pull that gap that's needed. Yeah, so much to play with strategy-wise.
Yeah, there is, and over the 2 hours, like you say, the success ballast, I think I quite like this one, actually. The weight ballast is good, adding weight to the cars, but then it can cause issues for the drivers in the race. But yeah, this one with the stop-go, I do think that is, definitely one of the better ones that we've used. So it will be interesting to see how that plays out. And again, with it being the lap that it is, you really don't want to be spending too much time stationary in that pit. It does seem like an absolute lifetime. So we'll see how the drivers deal with that. Those penalties will pop up next to the team's cars on the left-hand side there as soon as lap 1 is over. Obviously, we won't see any of the cars put in at the end of lap 1. No way these cars will do 2 hours. Plus, that would be the shortest stint in endurance racing history. That would be one way to start it, wouldn't it, Simon? Just get one driver in, does the opening lap, and then, yeah, put an alien in for the next 2 hours.
Yeah. Well, I know for the real Spa 24 hours, there are teams that triple stint tyres. They do 3 whole hours on one set of tyres. I guess that's just down to compounds and everything that's being used on the race weekends. But pretty much here, especially in the GT3s, after an hour and a half, your tyres are completely gone. There's no way, there's no point even being on that tyre set anymore because the lap times are just going to be so horrendous. So yeah, I don't think there's going to be any teams that are pitting after lap 1 to try and do that. Well, a GT3 fuel tank can't do that anyway, so yeah.
Yeah, so...
I will hand over to you for the start of the race because I will jump to the steward's box.
Excellent. So there we go. Simon's going to jump to the steer's box. We will watch intently the start of the race. Of course, this is where the Formula 1 drivers start, kind of sensibly. That will be the finish line. The drivers will roll in procession through La Source. And then 24 cars will be released. Thought we'd lost one there, but no. Very close between the SOP cars there. Langford just on the outside. Got a double threat from the SOP team on the inside. The McLaren, Horman and Daly in there as well. We're on board with, it would appear, Marcus Jusma. The names now coming together. And what we're seeing, obviously, some of the drivers' teams swapping over, and there is the green lights, and we are aware it's a great start by Bourdon down the hill, falls straight into line, so too does Luca Tavanari. Side by side in the background between the McLaren and the SOP Aston Martin of Leon Series, or Marcus Jusma taking over there. Ben Langford getting a good run up the hill as well. He's going to go 3 wide along the Kemmel Straight. All the pink ahead of him, it's Brett and Jusma looking for a way through the middle. There's no way through into turn number 1. It's Larenc leading the way still. He's got the McLaren just behind him. Langford getting it done on the brake sweeps around the outside. Beautiful move there by Langford, and it's all going on in the background as well still, as we can see Corvig going side by side as well. In the GT4s, Verstappen has comfortably made his way through. He's comfortably not made his way through any place. He's still leading the way, so he's made his way comfortably through the opening sector, and he's still got the lead of the GT4s. Corvig just ahead, going side by side with one of the SOP cars. That's Mark Bunyan. Finds himself in 14th position. Still very close up at the front note with Martin Larenc, although not very close with Larenc, sorry. He's given the field a bit of a brush off as Cholukin still in second, trying to fend off Adrian Bourdon's attack. Look at Tavanari in the Porsche on the second row of the grid. Jordan Daly in the McLaren tucked in just behind him with Jusma in 6th position. It's Peter Brett in 7th. Langford's in 8th with Tim Joyny in 11th and 9th position. Although it does say he's in 11th, so we're about to see changes here. Yes, so he has dropped down there. He's lost a couple of positions. Amir Kashiktrash has made it up to 10th place then. Riley Murdoch and Kaczynski very close indeed as well, coming out with Stavolo into Blanchimont, and they've got Sarin Pa looking to make an impression on the top 3 as well. So they're all very close. Butcher about in second back off this pack, although that is Sarin Pa that we're on board with there. There is Butcher there, so he's just a little bit off the pace there, but certainly not too far out of it coming towards the end of the first lap. It's Larenc who leads the way with a half-second gap over Cholukin. Bourdon still in third, and there's Langford, Brett and Daly. Potentially going 3 wide into turn 1. Brett right up the middle line, and Langford, the wily campaigner, goes for the cutback. Doesn't get the run down the hill, but it's Peter Brett in the Porsche has got himself ahead then of Daly. Langford still finds himself in 7th position up the hill though. The Porsche has the position, but he's given away the slipstream. On board with Langford, there is the McLaren just ahead of him. You can see Peter Brett's car just popping out. Langford going to be using the slipstream from Brett. Pulls in behind the McLaren of Daly. Daly trying to go round the outside. Brett drifts over ever so slightly, and he's run off the course, then cut a bit of the corner. Langford's made his way through, and it's Daly that finds himself losing out on that position. Then behind him, and he's really run offline there. He's given himself, he must have got really unsettled there, Daly, and he's pulled right over off the racing line. Got himself going again and pulled back in, and he finds himself just ahead of Hajo Horman, as we can see over the rear spoiler of Marcus Duzma then. He's now got him behind. There is the success penalties from the last round being applied, so that's why Luca Tavanari has just been given 15 seconds. Daly still looking close there as well. Riley Murdoch giving a good chase for the lead of the GT4s. The two Ginettas breaking away. They did so in qualifying, and they're doing so in the race here. Sam and Pat all over the back of Kaczynski as well, but it is Murdoch who's doing a fair bit of chasing at the moment. And there is the rest of the penalty being handed out. So there's the Duzma car getting the 5 seconds. Tavanari with the 20. Oh yeah, it goes out in 5-second increments. So that will be the penalties handed out. Riley Murdoch chasing into Stavolo. And as you can see behind him, he's getting a nice gap back to Kaczynski. 2 seconds now. These two find with the lead, and he's well in the slipstream here, coming along through Blanchimont. There is Verstappen being given his time penalty for his pit stop. Chulukin now 9/10 from Larenc, the lead drivers in the GT3s. Looking pretty spread out. The top three certainly. Look at Tavanari all over the back of Bourdon at the moment. Larenc's 15-second penalty from round number 1. Daly as well. All over the back of Duzma as they come out of the source down the hill towards Eau Rouge and Radion. There's the rest of the penalties handed out. Barrett with the 10-second penalty. And it is Murdoch and Verstappen with the 15 and the 20. So clear for Murdoch. All he needs to do is keep realistically within 5 seconds. And he should get this one done in the pit. Doesn't always work out that way, as I'm sure many a race strategist will tell you. Very close just ahead of him at the back of the GT3 pack with Waizi for Vivid Global Racing chasing Osterschars and Tim Joyny, who's got Amir Kashiktaras just ahead of him again. Kashiktaras back down into 10th position. Right on the back of Horman and Daly, the two McLarens chasing Marcus Duzma. In fact, they're just about going side by side. You can see just how close this bunch of cars is. Peter Brett just down the road with Ben Langford. Then it is Duzma in this chain. In fact, Kashiktaras up to 10th position, up to... Now, is he up ahead of Duzma? I believe he is. When we come through the timer boards, that will update. It can take a while. Here at Spa, we do have a board coming up, and we'll see what happens there. But that is Kashiktaras definitely ahead of Marcus Duzma, so there's been positions changed there as well. So Kashiktaras, don't know why he's shown in 10th. It must have been right on top of us. So he's shown 8th at a minute. So it is Duzma in 10th, so they have swapped. Horman and Daly still right on top of one another. Brett and Langford still keeping one another in tow. Tavanari still all over the back of Adrian Bourdon coming into the final chicane. 1 second now separates the top two, and 1.4 seconds separating second and third. Tavanari looking to boost Chulukin and Larenc's gap here with the battling that he's doing with the BMW. The Porsche thought to struggle around here, but as I said, at the hands of Luca, all things are possible. It really is keeping the BMW as honest as the summer days in Belgium are long, I would hasten to guess. Oh, Tim Joyny down the hill, side by side with Aston Martin and Duzma. We saw him lose positions on the last lap. It looks like he's going to come under threat here along the Kemmel Straight. Up Eau Rouge and Radion, only 3 laps in. And all 4 of those drivers need to keep it very firmly between the wheel and the mustard again. You definitely don't want to drive through for track limit violations, and Osterschars, I believe Joyny might have lifted there because he went slightly over. Of course, the poor straight line speed, not the best either. Thank you very much, Crashneck, for the follow. Welcome in. And we've also got what looks like a large serial number. Give us a follow as well, 828. And all of that. Tom Bryant's in the chat. How we doing? Lots of people. Oh, Barney Gamers in as well. Even John and Baggis. How we doing, bud? Chulukin is the best. Let's go.
And we're back in the room, John.
We are indeed. As far as opening laps go, Simon, that seemed not too bad at all. Not much to do in the stewards box for you, thankfully.
Absolutely fantastic lap one. What could we say? Clearly, the drivers didn't want to pick up a drive-through penalty for lap one incidents here. They've got the message loud and clear in the driver briefing. And yeah, a fantastic opening start to this race. This is exactly what we need. The GT3s, clean as you like, pulling away from the GT4s. Nice battles up and down the field in class. The success penalties handed out. And the usual protagonists doing battle is good stuff.
Indeed it is, indeed it is. And as you say, the usual protagonist doing battle is Martin Larenc, leader of the championship as part of the Connection Lost Racing team. Coming into the final chicane, and he is getting the job done at the moment. 1.3 seconds. Well, it's Chulukin who's taken the purple lap. Larenc just retaken it. That'll change hands a few times through the race. Great battle developing between Langford and Brett then for 5th position. Neither of these drivers with any of that success time penalty, and Tavanari ahead of them does. So you would think they would be looking to get themselves, definitely wouldn't want to be holding one another up when the cars ahead of you are going to be spending extra time in the pits. But they are very close, chasing one another through the lap. Along the Kemmel Straight, will Langford be able to use the slipstream? He certainly will. Look at the closing gap then. The Porsche straight line speed really is being found out along this Kemmel Straight, and the Aston Martin going round it outside. Beautifully done. Plenty of space left by both cars there on that inside curb, and Langford in the Aston Martin getting that job done. We've seen it a couple of times already, Simon, but yeah, the straight line speed of the Porsche, there's a couple of tracks that really does get found out at. Suzuka being one of them, Spa most definitely one of the others.
Yeah, it's not the greatest top speed. The Aston breezed past it. Fortunately for Luca Tabanari, he's been able to hold on to the back of the BMW, which has pretty much pulled Tabanari away from the rest of the pack. And if Tabanari can keep on the back of the 999 BMW, he's going to thank his lucky stars, because I'm sure Tabanari won't want to try and get past the BMW, because then he's just going to be going even slower than what he currently is.
Yeah, so strategically using the slipstream to stay in contention, much as Peter Brett is doing, as Simon pointed out. He's just hanging right onto the back of Langford's car, and definitely is well to do so. Ooh, has a look. Is he thinking about side by side through Blanchimont? Surely not. As you would expect, stays in line. Will he have a look in the final chicane? Tabanari is still behind the BMW, still being pulled along. And yeah, you would think that Peter Brett is going to do something similar. Will he go for a counter move? We will see. Horman's keeping himself in touch with Daly as well. Daly, who had a great opening couple of sectors, and then found himself off track through Melmaday. Came back on in 7th position and has been dragging Horman with him ever since. Tim Joyney still looking very quick, trying to hunt down the Simulation Esports car of Adam Osterschars, while you, Wisey, for Vivid Global Racing, keenly watches that battle just ahead. Verstappen doing Verstappen things. He's now got a 1.8 second gap over Riley Murdoch in the GT4s. Matthias Kaczynski in the Simulation Esports came in 3rd place. Then it's Sarum Pat in 4th, Boucher in 5th, Barrett in 6th, Kildashev in 7th, and Pereira in 8th place for the GT Marquee team. Still close between Sarum Pat and Kaczynski. BMWs and Porsches doing battle in the GT3s and the GT4 class. But Verstappen and Murdoch They really do need to make sure, I mean, they really can't afford any mistakes in their opening stint, Simon, given that they've got the 20 and the 15 seconds. I mean, they really do need to get their foot down, and it needs to be flawless for them. The slightest mistake, and they're going to find themselves down potentially 3rd, 4th, 5th position just because of the success from the last race.
Yeah, quite easily they could find themselves dropping outside of the top 5. I mean, the current pace and delta, as Kaczynski gets it wrong coming up Eau Rouge a little bit. You know, 15 minutes in almost, they pulled out a 7-second gap. Another 15 minutes, that could be 14. By the time they come into the pits, you know, they could potentially be at that 20-second cushion that they need to be, as long as they can keep that pace up. But they've got another 45 minutes to do that. I think Murdoch is just going to try and stay within that 5-second gap that he needs to Verstappen, and then he's just going to naturally appear out in the lead. And then it's going to be whether the teammates of both of these teams out in front have got the identical pace of their counterparts in Verstappen and Murdoch. I know, obviously, from the SOP Esports perspective, I know Christopher Vert's going to be taking over. Sorry, it's not Christopher this weekend. It's Danny Basin's going to be taking over for Riley Murdoch. So a driver who's equally equipped to run at the front. Who is the teammate of Verstappen? Let me click and have a quick look. Ulrich. Okay, so he's just as fast as his teammate as well. So it really is nip and tuck between the top two, and I think when they come out of the pit stop, it's going to be exactly the same until the flag drops. Again, see, they've just pulled out another second on Kaczynski. He's making a few mistakes there in 3rd place. I thought the Simulation Esports team would be a bit faster than they are, but again, they're in a Porsche, and Porsche tends to struggle around here at Spa. They have no slipstream to help them get pulled along. You know, there's 5 Porsches in the, I say 5 Porsches in the bottom half of the table. There's 1 Porsche in 3rd, and then the rest of the Porsches make up the GT4 field, so clearly they're struggling compared to the Ginettas and BMW. And that pretty much is the case in the GT3s as well. The BMWs and McLarens are doing rather well here, considering the driver lineups over the Porsches and Astons right now.
Yeah, they are doing well. Just jumped on board. Phenomenal battle at the moment between these cars here. Juzma, Joyny, Kasikras, Ostrashars and Waizi. Right down at the back, or down towards the rear of the GT3 grid, but they're still battling out for position. Juzma holding on to 9th position. He does have that 10-second success penalty to serve. Joyny certainly keen to get past as quickly as possible. Ostrashars in the BMW lurking in the background. We can see him every now and again just looming ever large in that dash console video screen that the BMW, the Aston Martin of Kasikras has got through. Blanchimont again, the Porsche being dragged along by the Aston, and again another Porsche that's using the car ahead. Brett still behind Langford, Tavanari still sitting 4/10 behind Bourdon. Has a look around, tries to go the long way, tries to do it the difficult way through the final chicane, and the Porsche losing a lot of time there to the Aston Martin behind. And he now finds himself a lot cleaner, and the BMW behind the Ostrashars then did not get a good exit out of the last corner. That's really bring him under a lot of pressure from Waizi along the Kemmel Straight on the next lap. There's Joyny having another look up the inside then. Let's see this from Kasikras as they come down towards Eau Rouge and Radion. Still the Aston Martin in front. The Porsche going to come under a lot of pressure this time, though. You feel that Aston of Kasikras needs a good run on. He didn't get the run up the hill that the two in front did. So he's Eau Rouge Radion traversal, not as good as the drivers ahead, and that's put him just out of contention for using that, or just out of reach to use that slipstream into Melmedy. So he will stay in 11th position on this lap. Joyny again using that slipstream, getting that tow from Juzma ahead of him, and you can see how much time Kasikras lost at Eau Rouge there by the size of Ostrashars in that rear video monitor. Down the hill.
Yeah, I'm surprised that Marcus Juzma started the race for the 324 Aston Martin, because it was Leon Seeley that done qualifying, and right now it looks like Juzma hasn't got the pace of the others inside the top 10, and this is a fantastic battle for 9th and 10th position, and this is a 5-way battle right now. Juzma with a 10-second penalty to serve in the pit stop is going to fall right down to possibly even 15th place in the GT3 class here, because he's definitely the bottleneck in this train, and he's holding up all these other teams and drivers behind him who are separated all by less than half a second each.
Yeah, indeed, they are unbelievably close at the moment. Also, as you say, 5-way battle through Stavolo. It's Juzma leading the way with Johnny Kasikras, Ostrishars and Waizi close in attendance. But as you were saying, Simon, it's kind of a catch-22 for the Porsche driver at the moment. He does look through most of the course like he could get the overtake done on Juzma, but as soon as he gets in front, he loses it on the straight line speed along the Kemmel through Blanchimont, and it's back to square one again. So for Johnny, is it kind of a blessing in disguise having Juzma there, or do you think he needs somebody potentially a bit quicker? Because he does, as I say, for the majority of the lap, he does look like he has Juzma's number.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. Even if Johnny is faster over a lap, he just can't get by him on the straight. So it's one of those unfortunate circumstances. He's definitely being held up. I mean, Juzma's lost 10 seconds to Horman in the first 20 minutes. So I would definitely say Juzma's holding up the rest of the pack. You're on a replay?
Yep, I've just jumped onto a replay there actually. I just noticed that Luca Tavanari was in fact ahead of the BMW and is into the final chicane. What a move on the brakes by the Porsche. Very nicely done. That was the move I just said. That's how we do it the difficult way through the last chicane. Luca Tavanari giving us a demonstration a lap later. And gets himself up into third position then. Will the Porsche get caught out again in a straight line along the Kemmel Straight or back through Blanchimont? And in fact, Ben Langford as well has got himself ahead. Oh no, sorry, we knew he was ahead of Peter Brett. Yeah, Peter Brett still chasing him in the Porsche. Staying in that slipstream. Bourdon doing the chasing then. We're 8 laps in. Tavanari finds it, and Bourdon straight out with the slipstream. Doesn't try to get any slipstream along there. So an interesting strategy there. He is within 4:10 still. So too Peter Brett of Langford. Johnny is massively ahead of Juzma then. So let's have a look and see what's happened there on the Kemmel Straight. So that is just where we left that then. Perfect.
Yeah. He must have stuck it around. He has to have stuck it around the outside.
Oh, big wiggle by Juzma through the Melody Complex. And he finds himself 2 positions down almost. Oh, Amir Kasikras right in on the Astroturf. Juzma moving back over. Ostrishars smells blood in the water. So too does Waizi. Oh, he almost had himself an apex and run up the inside there. The BMW said, no thanks, my corner. I'll close the door. Ostrishars then hanging on to 12th, and Juzma, it does look like he has hung on to 10th, but it's Johnny. So both the Porsches then getting the overtake done on the same lap, and I can confirm that Luca Tavanari has maintained that third place over the BMW. Absolutely no messing about from the Rookie Monsters driver. Martin Larenc, 2.5 seconds in the lead. And as Simon predicted, lap number 9. We can see
I think
them.
I'm good at this, John.
Anybody think he'd done this before, Simon? You should be a team manager.
Yeah. Something like that.
Excellent. There's what I'm looking for there. Christian Ekman. Now he's now battling with Amir Kasikras also. I don't know what's happened there, but he's dropped right down the order.
Oh, Kasikras has dropped right down the order, yeah.
Yeah, he has, yeah. Yeah, so it was a close battle then, so we've maybe missed someone there, but with Johnny, Ostrishars, Juzma now behind Ostrishars as well. So the positions have really changed. Shall we jump on a replay and see if we can see what's happened? Oh, the Vivid Global Racing car having a big look up the inside. Ostrishars had already got the overtake done by then. That was Juzma redefending the position, and by then as well. So it looks like something through Blanchimont potentially. The last chicane, Amir Kasikras has fallen by the wayside, yet he finds himself down at this point in front of Ekman. He's now behind Ekman in the race. Yes,
yeah. There was a big incident at the bus stop chicane between Juzma in the 324 and Kashid Rash in the 505. Now, I'm not sure if that's connection issues that they had to come together because they were side by side, and then it just looked like Juzma's car went all wobbly. So I'm not sure if that was a connection issue from one of them, but yeah, they both approached the bus stop chicane. They were both side by side, and then inevitable contact. Bit of door banging sent them both off, both spinning off at the bus stop chicane, and they both lost multiple positions.
Yes, indeed, they have 14th and 15th, and Christian Ekman 16th. Verstappen now with a 2-second gap over Riley Murdoch, so he's doing everything he can to find the 5 seconds he needs to negate the 5-second difference in their success penalties. Easy for me to say. Matthias Kaczynski 12 seconds down on Murdoch, which means he's 14 seconds down on Verstappen. So Verstappen very quickly approaching that 20-second cushion that he needs. Matthias Sarampa in 4th still, Butcher in 5th, Kildashev in 6th position, Pereira in 7th, and Josh Barrett bring up the rear at the moment. And the GT3s just making their way through. Bourdon's goes right back up, no he's not. The time in Delta is showing him a lot closer. Peter Brett has gotten in front of Ben Langford just as they've approached that traffic then, so up Eau Rouge. Oh, probably the only place at Spa you don't want to meet a GT4 car, and that is at the top of Radion. And that was certainly the case there. Avoiding accident was taken by Langford. No driver at fault there. Certainly not the GT4 driver's fault. He was on the racing line doing what he could to get up there. And the GT3's closed down at a phenomenal pace, and that has given Peter Brett the jump on Ben Langford. Langford now with 6th, Brett up into 5th position. Will Langford be able to retake the position? The Porsches, as we've seen, struggling in that straight line. But
let's not forget that the GT4s have priority on the racing line.
100%.
Yeah.
So they should. Yeah.
Catching some teams out at this point. Now they're trying to make their first negotiations with the GT4s. And like I said, some drivers are benefiting from that, such as Peter Brett getting the move done on Langford, and Adrian Bourdon's closed up again on Tavanari because of the GT4 traffic. One of those things that opens up strategy once again, because what do? In another 9 laps, these drivers are going to be coming through, which is going to be right on the mark of making their pit stops. So maybe some GT3 teams will think better of trying to get through the entire GT4 field, and they'll come into the pits, make their one and only stop, and then they should have a nice gap before they meet the GT4s once again on track.
Yeah, indeed, like you say, it's one of these things that spices up the strategy. It's like gentleman drivers. The real life endurance teams have to have a gentleman driver in there because the alien level drivers all drive at such an equilibrious pace. So yeah, chuck in a gentleman driver or two, brings money into the teams, and it certainly spices up the results. Although I would hate to be the gentleman driver that binned it on the last lap at Le Mans when the team were racing. He wasn't even supposed to be back in the car, and they put him in because they had such a big lead. They said, yeah, you can bring the car across the line, and he binned it on the last lap. Horrifying. It was in a document. There's a documentary about it, Gentleman Drivers. You should check it out if you haven't seen it. It is phenomenal viewing, but heart and mouth stuff when that guy bins that. Goodness me. But let's see what's happening here. As I say, making their way through the GT4s can certainly spice things up, and it is doing so at the moment. It's brought Tavanari and Bourdon. It did temporarily bring them closer together, but Tavanari defying logic here with his performance in the pod did say any car in his hands is always going to do well, even if it is a car that's perceived to be underpowered at a certain track. Luca will find a way. and he's certainly done so at the moment. Up onto the podium, big. Obviously a big penalty to serve in the pits at 20 seconds, so he really does need to get as much time under his belt over as much of the field as he can.
I'll be back in a minute, John. Got some
stewarding
incidents coming in now, so we'll be dealing with them.
Excellent, we'll get updates on them when Simon comes back in. Thank you, Simon. He is going off to perform some stewarding duties. So we'll keep an eye on the action out on track. Juzman now in 11th, just making his way through some GT4s as well. Osterschars and Joyne just ahead of him. Osterschars still pretty close. Joyne doing his best to catch up to the pack ahead. Langford still behind Brett. Is he close enough along the Kemmel Straight this time to use that slipstream to get caught back up? And of course the overriding advantage and the top end speed does close in. Another couple of laps maximum, he'll be all over that rear spoiler. In fact, Blanchimon on this lap could be a decent shout. See just how close he's going to get, and that is Bourdon just ahead of him then. It's only 1.9 separating Brett and Bourdon, 1.3 separating Tavanari and Bourdon, so Bourdon right in the middle, a third and fifth, as they're just making their way again. Some blue flags down through Puyon. So we're pretty much going to see constant blue flags for the rest of the race. As you can see on the track map, they do kind of end up a little bit bunched up. The pit stops will sort some of that out, certainly. The GT4s pretty much carte blanche to pit whenever they want. Their petrol tanks far more impressive than the size of those in the GT3 cars. There's more GT4s being passed. That's Tavanari and Bourdon making their way through. Peter Brett, that is. Oh, Peter Brett just going round the outside of his teammate. And we've got penalties for causing a collision. Daly, as we watch Blanchimon still. The graphics not quite holding up there. Hopefully you're not getting too many trailers on the screen. But that is the GT4 leader then, that's just been overtaken by these GT3s battling for 5th position. Aston Martin doing everything it can in a straight line to close in on that Porsche. Porsche getting some phenomenal corner exits though to eke out the advantage that it has. Bourdon well within a second once again of Tavanari. Langford into turn 1 all over that rear spoiler. Extra dab of the brakes to avoid that contact there, and that is a big gap to overturn coming down the hill. Let's just see if he can close the gap. And almost the same difference between the two of them on this lap as there was on the last lap. So Brett, a phenomenal lap to keep Langford at arm's length once again at the Porsche's weakest point on the track. He knows this is where Langford has the advantage. 2 laps on the trot, he's managed to maintain the distance far enough that the Aston can't exploit the slipstream and his top end speed advantage to get the overtake done into Melnedy. It's 13 laps in at the moment, only 32 laps gone. Still an hour and 28 minutes to go, with every team still to take a pit stop. Josh Barrett bringing up the rear of the field at the moment. He's got a 10-second penalty. Murdoch in second for the GT4s. And again, with them making the way the blue flag, it doesn't always just help some of the GT3s. The GT4s can take advantage as well. As you can see, Riley Murdoch closing right back in on Verstappen. These two cars finishing on the top 2 spots last time out, hence the 20 and 15 seconds penalty. And at the moment, this is exactly what they both need, but it's definitely the race win. Definitely in the hands of Murdoch at the moment with that 5-second advantage. He's 18 seconds ahead of Kaczynski. So that is that penalty negated by 3 seconds. We're still 28 minutes to the halfway mark of the race, so he will be delighted at that. Daly picking up that penalty for contact. Bourdon closing right back in on the Porsche. This is where we saw the Porsche get the overtake done in stint 1. In stint 1, this still is the first stint. A few laps ago, sorry. He's looking to close in and retake it. And is that Ben Langford? He is. He's back ahead then. And that was through Blanchimont. That was, as I say, one of the two spots that the Porsche was always going to be vulnerable when the top end speed really does come into play. And through Blanchimont, just before Blanchimont, beautifully done by both drivers, the Aston and the Porsche, making their way through. Brett looked like he thought about another move into the last chicane. Decides to stay in the tones. You can see right on that rear spoiler, all the way through the chicane, and Langford then back up to 5th position. Along the Kemmel Straight, the Porsche trying to use the slipstream to close in. And he has stayed pretty close there. So he has done well after the overtake to hang in there. Bourdon back to within half a second of Tavanari. Larenc, he is now 2 seconds clear of Chillucan. Great drive by both of these drivers. Very similar times on the timing boards as well. The last lap for the two drivers only separated by a tenth of a second, although Larenc, the only driver so far in the race to go sub 2 minutes 18 with a 2:17.860, the fastest lap of the race so far. Murdoch, look how close he's getting again. They're making their way through. There's a GT3 car just making his way through. Again, the GT4 cars are the cars that have priority because they are the slower of the two classes. They remain on the driving line. It's the GT3 cars' obligation to make sure they cleanly and safely pass the GT4. Exactly the same as in motor racing itself. If you are the overtaking car, the onus is on you to make the move cleanly. And it's the same with the GT4. So yeah, during this race, the GT4's under no obligation to get themselves out of the way. As long as they, if they are going to get out of the way, all fine and well, as long as they are nice and predictable and don't do anything crazy like trying to suddenly move out the way on a corner exit. Much like that there. Beautiful demonstration. The BMW making his way through off the racing line as the GT4 Simon battle out for the lead. We saw Peter Brett get overtaken by Ben Langford in this spot, and I was saying that the GT3 cars can sometimes benefit from the blue flag traffic, but so too can the GT4s, as we see the GT4 leaders separated by a tenth in the last chicane, Simon.
Yeah, fantastic battle this is, with GT3s in the mix as well. I could throw some fireworks now as they cross the F1 start line as they come into the final turn. This is exactly what Riley Murdoch and the Triple Eight machine needs to do, to be honest. If they can find a way past Verstappen, even better. But this is the perfect race strategy when they've got that 5-second buffer in the pit stop window between those two, and already they're 22 seconds ahead of the rest of the GT4 pack. So these two are going to clearly come out ahead of everybody else, as long as they don't do anything silly now whilst they're battling for the lead. This is working out perfectly for the two Ginettas that are the class of the field, to be honest. Nothing to separate these two in the championship either. Yep, no worries, John. We'll see you in a second. It is Verstappen leading the way in the GT4s. Nothing to separate himself and Riley Murdoch, who's looking the ever racier driver at this stage of the race. Looking to make a move to get the GT4 lead before the pit stop window opens. They do have that 5-second cushion, but if you can find a way past and even pull a bigger gap between himself and Verstappen, it's only going to help their chances to try and get the race victory here at Spa-Francorchamps, round number 5 of the British GT Championships. 21.5 seconds is the gap to the next GT4 car, which is the number 4 Porsche of Simulation Esports. We've got a 5-second gap to Seren Parr in the 230 BMW as Mark Bunyan is off the track in the 405. Was that a driver error? Was that some contact? Looks like there might be problems aboard Mark Bunyan and the 405 Porsche machine, because he's going very slow and he seems to have problems just turning that car. So unless he's hit a wall and he's got damaged steering, which we can't see. Oh yes, that front end is looking rather poorly, to say the least. He's going to be nursing that back to the pits now. He won't be able to complete the race, even with this stop being made right now. Still 1 hour and 22 minutes to go. That's not going to be... It's going to be 100, was it 60, 80, 82 minutes? They could possibly get there. But that's going to be a stretch in the Porsche. So yeah, going to be 2 stops for the 405, and that's going to be day done for those two. Unfortunately, they're going to be at the rear of the field as we're back on board with Riley Murdoch. Is this going to be the lap that they get the job done? Riding on board Riley Murdoch, coming through Eau Rouge, up through Radillion. This is going to be a fantastic battle. Is he going to have enough slipstream? Looks like he's got a better exit. Is this going to be the lap that they get the move? GT3 traffic coming through as well. Going to put the nose at the inside, is he? Not this time around, he's thinking better of it. A very measured drive at the minute from Riley Murdoch. You would think that there'd be plenty of drivers that try and take that opportunity and just stick the nose up on the inside there, because Verstappen definitely left that door open for a move to be made. But thinks better of it, tucks right back into the slipstream of the 41 machine. Another second taken out of Kozlinski in the number 4 just behind. Is looking like a rather good day at the minute for the 41 and 888. As Mark Bunyan does come into the pits with that severe damage then. I'm sure that's going to be one hell of a stop, fixing that damage as Riley Murdoch almost misses his braking point there and almost rear ends the back of Verstappen in the 41 Ginetta GT4. But they continue to motor on as things were, as the 404 in the GT3 field at the front of everything. He's only got 1.7 seconds to Shalukin. You've got to think that Shalukin in the 47 McLaren is primed to take the race victory here, John. I know there's still an hour 20 left on the clock, but the fact that he's only 1.6 seconds away from the leader at this point of the race, who's got 15 seconds to serve in his stop, he's looking rather tasty for the victory, because Tavanari in 4th has also got that 20 seconds. So he's going to drop off the lead in trio, and could be Shalukin in the lead after the pit stop phase. Lorenk may find himself in 2nd. He's got 15 seconds to serve. Bourdon is exactly 15 seconds adrift in 3rd. So he may be able to slot back into 2nd place as things stay. But yeah, got a fancier chances in that 47 McLaren to take the victory here, as we might see a double BMW podium in 2nd and 3rd as things stand.
Yeah, I think so. 100% agree with you. Lorenk doing everything he can to try and stretch his gap out, but Cholukin in that McLaren is absolutely not letting go. Got him well within sight, and as you say, that 15-second deficit, that really is going to be a lot to overturn. At this stage, he'd be needing to have at least a 10-second gap in the race at the moment. So yeah, it really is looking good for Cholukin to take that win. Bourdon, as you say, 15 seconds down the road, and he's got his hands full with Luca Tavanari at the moment. Tavanari's car going to drop off as well, given that 20-second penalty. That's going to see him potentially outside the top 10. Given the separation of the field at the moment, meaning Langford and Brett are going to definitely see themselves promoted in position. Langford, now that he's gotten himself ahead of Brett's dropped out of that slipstream, and we're seeing there perfectly highlighted, Simon, as long as you're in the slipstream in the Porsche, you can pretty much hang with the other cars. But as soon as you drop off, I mean, we're now seeing a gap of over a second between Langford and Brett, and that's the biggest we've seen between the two of them since the race started.
Yeah, that's the thing. We've seen it all race long at the minute, that the Porsches are being dragged along as long as they're in the slipstream. You highlighted it perfectly. Once they've lost the slipstream, they just tend to fall back because they don't have a straight line speed to keep up to the likes of the McLarens, BMWs and Astons. So Peter Brett right now is going to find himself in a bit of a limbo. Not able to make headway on Langford anymore, but doing enough just to stay ahead of Daly, who, like I said, has got that 10-second penalty to serve anyway. So even if Daly does end up catching Brett, he's going to fall 10 seconds adrift in the pit stop anyway. So no problems aboard for Peter Brett right now. Again, we'll see how the pit stops play out. We see it time and time again. Drivers may find themselves speeding on pit entry or pit exit, which will give them either a driving penalty or a stop go 30, and that will really definitely shake up the order if that happens. So these drivers have just got to take a measured approach when they approach the pit stop entrance, not do anything stupid on their pit entry speed, and the same for the exit. Be as you were once all the pit stops are complete. These drivers can find themselves in some very healthy positions after the pit stops, because there's quite a few penalties to serve from a number of teams now due to incidents as well. Also, well, only one incident actually that's picked up a penalty for a 115 machine. There was 3 incident reports to review. 2 of them were deemed as a racing incident, so no further action, very minor contact between drivers. And then the 115 has picked up a 10-second penalty for a lap 2 incident where it was actually the reason why Juzma in the 324 was dropping back quite considerably. Something that wasn't picked up via a yellow flag or anything was the fact that the 115 rear-ended the 324 quite hard, coming through turn 7, which half spun the Aston Martin, and then just for good measure the 115 just pushed themselves past by bumping the front end of the 324 as well. So double damage on the Aston Martin and Juzma from the rear and the front, and that's why we saw them struggling so much. Like we saw, there's no point coming into the pits to repair damage, because you just lose so much more time. So yeah, it's 10 seconds for the 324 to serve in the pit stops as well from the last race. It is pretty much race over, because they're going to drop back behind. Well, they're not going to drop back behind Corbin, but it's going to be hard for them to finish inside the top 10 now.
Oh, and I'm on mute. I'm not sure, so we'll maybe have to look at that, but that's Dubig down, bring up the rear of the GT3 grid, up at the sharp end of the GT3 grid. We've seen Bourdon get back ahead of Tavanari, and the Porsche out of the slipstream, now dropping off, as we've seen with Peter Brett from Ben Langford, and Ben Langford is now catching up onto the back of said Tavanari. So the Porsche's top line speed about to be tested once again, and you would think the ball definitely in Langford's court. So Tavanari likely to lose a position then before the pit stop, and does have that extra 20 seconds, so it is going to tumble down the order. One of his only
unless the number 70 disconnected, John, that would be the only reason why
okay.
the pit stop hasn't cleared, because I just checked that definitely no requirements accidentally put on the server for fuel or tyres. So, and the GT4s are already 2 laps down on the GT3s, and Dewig has come back out in the middle of those GT4s that are 2 laps down. So that's the only thing that I can think it is, that they disconnected and they rejoined the race 2 laps down on the leading GT3s.
Yeah, that would certainly make sense. Definitely unfortunate, especially as they're going to have to come to the pits again. Here we can see along the Kemmel Straight once again the Porsche undone for speed, and it is Langford for Wild Things Racing up into 4th position. And he is definitely going to keep a hold of that until after the pit stops, at least, given that Tavanari's got that monstrous 20-second penalty. So Langford in the Aston up into fourth, only 2.1 behind Bourdon, who's just ahead and making his way at the moment past some GT4 traffic. That is one of the Caymans, it's Barrett in fact. So there is Bourdon. He's currently in third. Tavanari in fifth. Langford up in the fourth place. Daly catching up to the back of Peter Brett now. The McLaren doing some running there. He's got a bit of a gap back to Horman now. Joiney got some plenty here either side of him. In 9th place, also Shars in 10th, Juzma in 11th, Corving for the NOV2 team. He's in 12th, Christian Ekman in 13th, Amir Kashiktrash running in 14th position, and Jewig, after a disconnection and rejoining, finds himself in 15th position. And yeah, we'll have had another one of the GT3s disconnect, unfortunately. You can actually see there is Larenk and Chalukin, still that 1.5 gap. They are trading lap times at the moment. 2:19.300 for Larenk on the last lap. 2:19.295, so 0.005 seconds separating the laps on the last lap. That was Jewig just ahead. Who's rejoined.
How does Tavanari drop down so far, John? You know?
Because it's the Porsche and it's slow here.
Well, no, he was holding third quite nicely.
Oh, and he's just got right back up there again. Ben Langford finding a GT4 at the top of the Radion Hill and losing that position. But yeah, he was. And then Bourdon, I think it was through some blue flags. He just couldn't quite hang on to the slipstream, so Bourdon showed him a clean pair of heels. And after Langford got his way past Brett, he wasted no time whatsoever and putting in a couple of very quick laps and getting himself right onto the back of Tavanari and getting the overtake done along that Kemmel Straight. So yeah, I do think the Porsche really is being outgunned. But again, the blue flags. It's an ill wind that blows. Sorry.
The Porsche must really start to struggle with tyre wear as well then. You know, they're at 50 minutes currently on this stint, and Tavanari's been caught by Bourdon and Langford. Peter Brett's being caught by Daly and Holman. So maybe the Porsches are now starting to struggle with some tyre wear issues as well.
Yeah, potentially, yeah. Could well be 4 in the afternoon, so yeah, track temperature won't be overly crazy, but it definitely looks like the Porsche is suffering. Oh, and Verstappen, we've missed that. Was that recently? Right, let's have a look at this. There has been a change in the lead for the GT4s on lap number 20. So, through Stavlo, that did look a bit wide there. From the McLeod Racing Ginetta, and Murdoch did get a very good exit from Stavlo, goes round the outside at Blanchimont. Does he is side by side? They are side by side. Oh, not quite the Blanchimont apex, but the SOP Ginetta pulling it right back into the inside, which will be the outside line into the final chicane. You had a look at this move a few laps ago. Oh, beautiful driving by them both. The apex each, and on the exit is a straight drag race towards the F1 finish line. Just got his nose in front. It's Riley Murdoch into La Source. Absolutely millimetre separating them into La Source. Heavy on the brakes. It's McLeod racing with the inside line. Oh, Riley. Extra dab on the brakes. He was looking potentially. What's happened there? Where's Murdoch gone? Well, he is in front. So let's continue to watch the replay then, because he is in front. Something's going on with the timing delta. Let me just get some confirmation here. Let's watch them along the Kemmel Straight. There was a big bit of separation when we jumped back onto the live pictures. Along the Kemmel Straight into Melmedy. They're going to go side by side once again. And it's Murdoch. Oh, he's just creeping on the inside there. Takes all the care he can. So too does the McLeod racing car. But Murdoch round the outside on the exit to Melody and down the hill, and he is the lead car. McLeod Racing looking to fight straight back down into the next corner. Heavy on the brakes, both of them. Ooh, and a little bit of contact on the McLeod Racing car. Oh, it's spun. And there's been a bit of contact there. It almost looked like he was about to be straightened out. And yeah, an unfortunate coming together there after such a great race between the two of them, Simon. That really has settled that one. Unfortunate contact, especially even more so, as that second contact. Usually you'd be lucky enough and that would straighten you back up. But yeah, that definitely puts a big gap now between the top two in the GT4s.
Yeah, and it's just watching the replay of that myself. It looked like the 41 just went in a bit too hot coming down there, and it's hard to judge those situations because the 41 actually hits the 41's rear, because he's overshot the corner, actually hits the front end of the 888, which is the reason why he's spinning. And then the 888 can't really do anything apart from try and take the corner, and because the 41's already half spinning, he just collects the front end. It's hard to judge that as an incident. I'm really inclined to say that's one of those unfortunate racing incidents, because Riley Murdoch was on the outside line and he really couldn't do anything about Verstappen coming up the inside there and tagging the front end of the 888.
Yeah, so an unfortunate outcome for the coming together, and it's certainly thrown the cat amongst the pigeons as far as the GT4s go. I have noticed as well, look at Tavanari, as you said, he does seem to have dropped off the pace. I did think it was a Porsche, but he has been overtaken by Peter Brett as well.
Yeah, Boosie's in the chat. He has confirmed that the Rookie Monsters tyres are completely shot.
Okay.
That's why they drop him right down the order now. Again, it's one of those situations. There's no point coming into the pits to put on fresh rubber, because if your tyres are gone at the 50-minute mark, there's no way you're going to then do 70 minutes on a new set of tyres, because you're in the same situation for the second half of the race. So you just got to, unfortunately, suck it up, buttercup, and do 60 minutes on the one set of tyres, even though you're losing all this time, to at least try and stand a chance of having a better second half of the race on fresh rubber. Perhaps they can close back up to Horman, Brett and Langford, who have overtaken them pretty substantially now, and they're all pulling the gap. But you know, when they have the tyres, they have the pace of the top three. But as we've seen now, that they haven't got the tyres and they're losing a lot of time.
Indeed they are. We're starting to see cars coming into the pits. Boucher is in there at the moment. Boucher, he's on his way back out. It's Kanika that's taken over there for this Benalla team. There goes Larenc making his way through now with a 2.5 second gap. Horman all over the back of Peter Brett in the McLaren, another Porsche that seems to be struggling on its tyres a bit. Although he's still in 5th position. Daly has been into the pits. Oh, and surely that's a graphical glitch. It looks like they're carrying damage. Ted Edwards taking over for the Race Ventura team. And yeah, that looks like a lot of damage on that car. We'll see if that's just a graphical glitch, but I'm not sure why you wouldn't get that fixed.
It could be the damage from the lap 2 incident where they rear-ended the 324 Aston Martin. They just decided not to fix it, unless they did fix it, and like you said, it's just a glitch where the damage stays on your screen but it's actually repaired on their screen.
Yeah, we'll certainly find out with their lap, although the lap times have struggled. Obviously they had this success. Ballast finished in 3rd in the last race, but they've been at the back of the pack of the GT3s for the whole race. Horman still looking to get a move on Peter Brett before we see these cars come into the pits halfway through lap number 24. The McLaren all over the back of the Porsche. The Porsche really is being found out at this course. The top 4, no problems for them so far. Larenk in the BMW now 3.1 seconds ahead of Chillukin. Bourdon 18 seconds down the road. So Larenk could hang on, or will hang on. Or, yeah, well, 3 seconds. It's going to be close. He could potentially hang on to third here, if not fourth. Although I'm sure Ben Langford looking to close that gap. 2.8 seconds. The gap between himself as he just goes round the outside of Verstappen then. Verstappen has held on to second place. But it's certainly going to be a monumental ask. With an extra 5 seconds to serve in the pits to get himself back ahead of Murdoch in the 888 machine. And there's Bourdon just looking at the blue flag his way past. Horman out the last chicane. Oh, Brett tumbling down the order. Oh, he's gone into the pits. Brett's come into the pits, so too Luca Tavanari. So the two Porsches pretty much bang, or two of the Porsches pretty much bang on the hour mark. Let's see if Johnny joins him. No, he doesn't. He stays out. Osterschar's following him. So yeah, the long wait for Tavanari. All the way to the pit box to wait for an extra 20 seconds. And yeah, tall order in the second stint. We will see what they can do. Larenk, he stayed out. And yeah, why wouldn't you? He's got a nice, clear bit of track in front of him now, so it really is right in his hands. And I know a lot's been made of the BMW having such a big petrol tank, Simon, but how long do we reckon the BMW can do in one stint? About an hour and 15, hour and 20 maybe?
The GT3 or the GT4?
The GT3.
Yeah, I would say 70 minutes is the maximum any car can do on ACC now. All the fuel tanks on this latest update have been shrunk a little bit. Bentley used to be able to go on forever. That can't happen anymore. And for some reason as well, tank sizes vary depending on the track. So I know Spa is one of the tracks that actually shrinks tank sizes, and some manufacturers like Lamborghini, for example, even struggle to get a full 60 minutes out of the tank without some fuel saving.
Wow.
So yeah, I think 65 minutes is going to be the max we see from people. Most drivers should be coming in on this exact lap, if not the next one, I think.
Yeah, we'll certainly see, but yeah, that's heartbreaking for Lambos. They're good cars as well. There's Peter Brett exiting the pits. There's Tavanari still stationary with that 20 seconds. Edwards for the Race Ventura team just coming into the final sector. There is Mustafa Ransbar taking over for the Iran racing team. Chillukin into the pits then from second place. And Langford's picked up a 5-second penalty, Simon.
Yes, the number 10 on lap number 20 actually caused a collision with the GT4, trying to lap the GT4 traffic coming up through the roofs. Obviously, the GT4s have the priority on the racing line, like we mentioned before. And Ben Langford just decided to drive into the rear of the GT4 car instead of trying to either slow down or go around the outside of the GT4 car. So yeah, it was just a bit of a bump on the GT4 car, which has resulted in a 5-second penalty.
Yeah, that could play a big factor here as he finds himself right on the back of Adrian Bourdon. He's looking the quicker of the two at the moment as well. Looking very racy indeed. We've now got a host of cars in. Horman in, Johnny in, Osterschars in, so too Marcus Juzma. Juzma the only one of them that's going to serve extra time with that penalty. There's Thomas Morant out for Peter Brett. Robert Strachan could not be a more Scottish name. Taking over for Luca Tavanari in the Porsche. Ted Edwards, as we saw earlier, he's out. Mustafa Ransbar out as well. Kanika has pitted, the only GT4 to have done so far, the Spinala team. As we can see, GT3s making their way through. So Langford We're going to get himself second on track at the moment. This is effectively the battle for third place. Although Cholukin, is that a bold strategy coming in this early? He's got himself, where about? Oh, cameraman catching up. He's got himself ahead of the Iran racing team. That's Mustafa Ranjbar. Just behind him. I'm assuming he's a lap up as well. Because the Iran racing team were running in 10th when they came into the pits. Mikhail Rosenthal taking over for Cholukin. No success penalty for the F1 Memes car. So we are expecting them to win this race, given how close they were to Larenc. They were within 3 seconds when they came into the pits. Larenc's got 15 to serve in the penalty. Rosenthal not enjoying the fresh tyres that he's been given. But yeah, no, so he is definitely a lap up on Mustafa Ranjbar and the Iran racing team. He is still showing in 4th position then. Wolfgang Schnalzgart out for the Horman racing team. He's taking over for Hajo. Thomas Morant, obviously, as I mentioned, taking over for Peter Brett. And he does find himself, interestingly, Simon, behind the McLaren of Hajo Horman. So Horman in the gang getting it done through the pit stops there. And yeah, Morant is world class behind that Porsche, but given the pace deficit, this could be a long haul for him trying to chase down and get past the McLarens, because they have looked, the McLarens, but Rosenthal, yeah, looked not bad in the race so far.
Yeah, potentially a painful day for Morant now, taking over from Peter Brett. Not only is he going to be stuck behind the McLarens on the straights, it's also going to be hurting his tyres even more if he can't get past. But Morant actually looks like he's had a fantastic exit. And he looks like he's going to get the job done as he's on the grass. Whoa, that's a bit sketchy, and Morant bins it. Okay, never mind. That is not what you need to be doing on your very first lap of a race here at Spa-Francorchamps. Unfortunately, Mr. Morant, you don't want to be on the grass causing yourself issues.
No, definitely not.
Unwanted damage, which is just going to slow him up even further now.
Indeed, yeah, and that's put the ball definitely into the other driver's court as Larenc comes in to the pits. Langford has been into the pits. He is just exiting as the race leader is coming in. 69% of a lap lost in the pits. And so that just shows you the difference.
The number 47. It's going to be interesting now as well, see, because are the second driver pairings in these teams as fast as their first driver? Is Rosenthal going to be fast enough to keep hold of that second place position? They currently got 30 seconds to the good over Pixley, who's taken over the number 10. So you're thinking in our race they're not going to close up that fast. It could be a race between Bourdon and, well, Bourdon's going to be handing over to Alberto Alvarez. Maybe
Ooh.
I'm hyping up something that isn't going to happen, because Larenc's still going to come out in front of Bourdon.
Incorrect. Oh, is he? Oh, yeah, he is.
Yes, Bourdon's just come in.
Just come in now, yeah.
So it's whether Rosenthal's going to have the pace over Connection Lost Racing in the second half of the race.
Indeed it is. Richard Pixley out for Wild Things Racing. They're currently 4th on track. They were very close to Bourdon when he came into the pits. They did have a 5-second penalty to serve. Rosenthal doing what he needs to do. Really needs this to have been a very good lap coming through La Source. Larenc in pit box number 1. There is the SOP car making his way past as well to unlap himself. There is the
damage.
Oh no, right. Okay. Did he come in to get that fixed? Right. Okay. So Morant came in to get that fixed, and there is Rosenthal taking the lead of the race for the F1 Memes team. It's Tom Bryant, who's been in the chat, by the way. Hi to everyone in the chat. Sorry, everything going on. I've barely looked at the chat this race. I know I'm usually on the case with that. Busey, SOP, Roz in there. Polish Racers in there. Hello, Tom Bryant, I've seen. Lucas, sorry for the temporary ban. We had the bot. I tried to ban the bot. Someone else spoke in chat, and your name came into the firing line. So, apologies for that. But Rosenthal, he's got the job done. And that is not bad at all from... So what was Rosenthal? Was only 3 seconds ahead. You had an extra 15 seconds in the pit. And he's only... Brian, sorry, only 6 seconds behind.
Wait for the next delta. The time.
Yeah,
delta
actually.
I think it's more than 6 seconds because he had 15 seconds to serve in the stop.
So it should be some... Yeah, it should be about 12 seconds.
I had it predicted that the McLaren should be around 12 to 14 seconds in front, yeah. There was only a 1.5 deficit behind before the stops.
3.
Mine, 3 seconds, right. Okay.
Yeah, I think it was at 3, yeah.
Yeah, take out the 15 seconds that they had to get rid of, and it should be around 12 to 14 seconds.
No, they've come through the report.
Right, okay. So obviously the 404 has just had a fantastic pit stop as well then.
Yeah, and we did see Rosenthal run off track slightly as well. I didn't think that would quite cost him as much as 8 seconds, but it looks like it has. He's still...
You know what, John, actually, something that something I always forget because I just don't expect people to do it anymore. But the difference between auto and manual pit stops. You know, if some drivers still have auto pit stops enabled, they automatically lose 5 seconds. You know, it's 5 seconds slower in the pit stop with automatic pit stop selected compared to those drivers that are doing manual stops. So maybe that is where the time difference has been had between the 47 and the 404.
Yeah, that is a big difference actually, especially at this level. So yeah, maybe that's what it is. We're just on board. Filipiak in 8th place for the Simulation Esports team. He's taken over from Osterschars. He's all over the back of the Rookie Monsters car in 7th place. Another Porsche that we're seeing down the field. Alex Ludemann's taken over for Johnny for the Team FWR car. They've come back out in 6th position. Leon Seeley out in 9th. He's taken over for Juzma. Edwards back up into 10th. Ekman in 11th. And it is Clark for the NOV2 car in 12th. Thomas Morant in 13th. I saw that extra damage, the extra pit stop. Mustafa Ranjbar for the Iran racing team just behind the car that is leading the race. But he is absolutely hanging with him for pace. So yeah, difficult position for Ranjbar here, Simon. He's easily keeping pace with Rosenthal, and he's perfectly within his rights to try and unlap himself, but it is the race leader. So yeah, that extra bit of nerves might creep in if you're Ranjbar trying to unlap yourself in this situation.
Yeah, it's one of those sticky situations, and you know, take Spa 24 hours for example. Not only is it just one class of GT3, it's like 3 or 4 different classes within the GT3 class. So the best thing to do is just run your own race. If they are naturally faster than you, let them have the position, because the last thing you want to do is have an incident, pick up damage, lose time on track by fighting someone. You know, they've got that 5-second cushion to Tom Bryant in the 404 behind. What's losing a 10th or 2 letting someone by you gonna affect you? Nothing really, is it? So if the 505 is naturally faster than you, just let them by. They'll pull away from you, and you can actually even benefit from their slipstream and stay within it. So it might do the 47 McLaren a world of good, actually, being behind the Aston Martin, who's naturally faster at this stage of the race. As I've just been riding on board, John. We had a change of lead in the GT4s, actually.
Yeah.
Ulrich has managed to get the job done over Danny Baisden. He just missed it then.
Just missed it out of the source.
Yes, yeah. So even though there was a 5-second difference between these two Ginettas in the pit stop window, they've managed to have a faster pit stop and then managed to close that gap and overtake Danny Baisden in the Triple Eight machine only a few laps after leaving the pits. So as you were for the top 2 Ginettas, naturally, you know, they're way faster than the rest of the GT4 field right now, especially here at Spa anyway. 25, well, it was 25 seconds before the stops. Obviously that gap is reduced because of the success penalties that they've had, but I'm sure now in this 60 minutes with their stints, they'll be able to pull that gap back out once again. And if it wasn't for the Triple Eight machine missing the first round, it would be a mighty title hunt between these two teams.
Yeah, it really is going to be McLeod, of course, the team leading the way in the championship. With only 2 rounds to go after this one. Another win here would certainly do those chances the world of good. Although, Simon, given that it is Brands Hatch next, being such a short track, how much do you not want to be the team that's carrying the biggest ballast penalty into that round?
Well, the main thing is, you know, here at Spa, the next round at Brands, and the final round at Donington, they're all 2-hour races. So yeah, even though the lap is a lot shorter, you've still got the exact same amount of racing time to either pull the gap or make up the deficit that you might be in. But obviously Brands Hatch is a lot harder to overtake on. So it's going to be a completely different racing situation compared to here at Spa, which is a lot more wide open circuit with straights where you can just nice and easily overtake someone. There really isn't a straight at Brands Hatch. Everything seems to be a corner, and it's going to cause a lot of issues, not only for overtaking in your own class, but when these classes come to meet each other out on track, trying to lap the GT4 traffic is going to cause one hell of a headache for these teams. And I can't wait for Brands Hatch because it produces fantastic racing as well.
Yeah, it's one of those tracks I absolutely love commentating it, but the triple right-handers from hell, they're not my friends. Misha Filipiak not looking to make friends, but is looking to make positions. He is giving Robert Strachan a torrid debut here at SOP. All over the back of him, the underpowered Porsche fending off the BMW Masterfleet over the last few laps. But it does seem like it's only going to be a matter of time before he gets that overtake done down into Radion and Eau Rouge once more. I do love the way you say Radion, by the way, Simon.
Radillion.
Yep.
Say it as you see it, say it as you see it. The
Very
English
good.
language is so complex for no reason. We like to hide letters in words. We like to pronounce words differently to how they're spelt. I don't know, I'm simple Simon, I just keep things simple.
That is the best way to do it, my friend. KISS method. Keep it simple, stupid. KISS. So there you go. Little lesson for today. Misha Filipiak still all over the back of the Porsche. Oh, extra inputs on the steering wheel. Coming towards the end of sector number 2. 31 laps in, 44 minutes left to go. We've still got 2 cars to take their pit stops. Kildashev, who's the on-track leader at the moment for the GT4s. He will lose, or will he potentially lose that position? He's going to have to be putting in some world-level laps to do so. The F1 memes cars both sitting 9th in their respective championships. At the moment, both sitting atop the boards. Rosenthal leading the way in the GT3s. Bryant within 2.8 seconds. So he is closing in. The gap was at 6 when they came out of the pits. You can see Kashikta is just getting out of his way for the blue flags.
Yeah, this is going to be a fantastic result for the McLaren team, actually. They haven't featured inside the top 5 at all during this entire championship. So if they can somehow hold on to take the win here, that's going to be a fantastic step from the 47 F1 memes team, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is a phenomenal result. Yeah, as you say, haven't featured inside the top 5. They're definitely looking odds on for a very solid podium. Definitely got a fight in their hands with connection lost. Tom Bryant bringing what he can. He's almost half the gap since they came out of the pits. So if he keeps this pace up, he'll be within striking distance with about 15-20 minutes left to go. Just the way it always is in an SOP race. Felipe and Strachan look like they're going to lead the battle charges until then, and that is a very good run up the hill from Filipiak, and the slipstream's already sent him barreling around the outside. He's got his nose in front into the Melmody complex. Another Porsche completely outgunned at the top end, and it is the Simulation Esports BMW, and now finds himself up into 7th position. He's got Ludeman ahead of him with 42 minutes to go. Does Ludeman need to be looking over his shoulder? He's got Schnalzger ahead of him, providing a bit of slipstream at the moment with that gap. Oh no, no, he's not. That's a different car. Okay, that is Duwig, who's about to come into the pit, sorry. So that is a McLaren ahead of him, but it's just not the one I thought it was. The Horman car, the bright yellow, and that, of course, Duwig there for Vivid Global. They're just, again, making their way past some GT4 traffic.
I don't know if the number 70 is going to come into the pit, John. Obviously, if they did have that disconnect... Obviously, if they've had that disconnect, then they've rejoined.
Fuel.
They've swapped their driver. Yeah, I think it just depends if they've got enough fuel to get them to the end, actually. I would count that as, they've made this stop. They've swapped driver when they disconnected. They were already 2 laps down on the rest of the GT3 field. Let's not put them through any extra punishment.
I know, because they'll have the 2-minute punishment for rejoining as well.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah, when you rejoin into the pitch, you get a 2-minute penalty as well. So, fingers crossed they can get the car all the way to the end. Blue flags are waving for Alex Ludeman. Just waiting to get confirmation on what the gap. 15.9 seconds. But there was only half a second of a difference between their previous lap times.
Yeah, do you know what? Team FWR have impressed me this championship. They've always been a dark horse in every single round. Obviously, there's 3 teams at every round that need to take the success penalties, but they just seem to have decent races. They make up positions in every single round. And they've also just been unlucky at some of the rounds. Round 1, they started behind the entire GT3 and GT4 field after having a good qualifying because they disconnected in qualifying. And then I think they ended up making their way back up to the top 5 before they got disconnected in the race at round 1 at Alton Park. I think they come unstuck at round number 2, I think. They ended up having a hefty penalty because of a collision. And then they've had some solid results in the previous 2 rounds, as they just have a bit of a off-track excursion there. But yeah, again, just outside of the top 5 for the number 21 machine. They seem to be there or thereabouts in every single round, which is nice to see.
Yeah, it definitely is. And 6th position at the moment. Aaron, that Porsche though, it's not done well around this race as we've seen. And while we've been talking about that, actually, Simon, the gap between the top 2 now well within a second. As Tom Bryant still the only car to have gone sub 2 minutes 18 in the race. And he's got himself within a second with 38 minutes still to go. Leon Seeley as well looking to make moves. In fact, now wait 2 seconds. Is that Strachan?
It is indeed, yeah. Falling back after being overtaken by Filipiak.
Yes, it is, and he has got very close. So I got confused with the 2 Porsches and the GT4 there. But yeah, Seeley in the Aston. And yes, Strachan, again, the Porsches. That's pretty much been the story of this race. The underpowered Porsches, some phenomenal drivers behind the wheel. But the car just not having the pace to carry them to the results they might otherwise have received. And we can see up the hill there, Seeley absolutely destroying the Porsche for pace there in the slipstream for absolutely the perfect amount of time. He's going to slingshot past him. By the time he gets to the braking zone, he will have his nose in front around the outside. He'll take the second apex very comfortably all over the inside curb to help the car rotate. Oh, the Porsche having a big bit of a wiggle there. Liam moving out of the way to avoid the contact on the outside curbing. The Porsche leaving just enough space, making it as hard as possible, but Seeley getting that job done. Strachan really now needs to hang on to that slipstream as best he can. There's a GT4 car just ahead of them, so that could play right into his hands and keep him in touch. Ooh, it's a bit of a wide exit though. Seeley wasting no time whatsoever. There's Strachan past the GT4 car. If he can hang on there until Melmade, he could get pulled through the final chicane, and I think on this lap we are going to see the BMW of Tom Bryant, Connection Lost Racing Championship leaders. And this is exactly why, despite a 15-second extra stop in the penalty, they're now within half a second of retaking the race lead with 36 minutes still on the clock. I did think it was going to be along the Kemmel Straight on this lap, with the McLaren getting a great run up the hill. The gap will be maintained. And yeah, it really, at this point, Simon, it's all in Tom Bryant's hands. He can sit for a couple of laps, try and see if he can force a mistake, wait for an opening, or even just try and force one, because he is, yeah, he's closed that gap very quickly, and he is right on the back of this McLaren here.
Yeah, definitely no need to do anything silly. 36 minutes on the clock, plenty of time to eye up the move. Even force an error, like you said, from McLaren in front. Tom Bryant is looking pretty to take the race win, because they pretty quickly closed that gap up after the pit stops, as the McLaren of Rosenthal is looking a little bit more on edge and uncontrolled at the minute compared to the BMW, which is looking rather planted in the hands of Mr. Bryant. It doesn't look like there's going to be any issue when the time comes to make a move. Yeah, like I said, there's no reason to force the issue right now at this stage. It only takes one corner to make a successful pass. 10 seconds to get the move done. 35 minutes left on the clock to make it happen. Might even try into the bus stop here.
How's a look?
Yeah. Oh, there you go. See, mistake from the McLaren right there. This is going to be the opportunity now.
Oh, right on the back. And as well, actually, in the background, Wild Things Racing. Oh, Pixley's very close to Alvarez as well. Oh, they're almost side by side through La Source. The BMW absolutely nailing it. The Rosenthal taking the line he needs to defend the corner. But it does look like it's going to be job done along the Kemmel Straight this time. Pixley has got himself ahead of Alvarez then. Something untoward. Oh no, they're side by side. Alvarez has got his nose back in front in the BMW. Let's have a look at the lead of the race though. Along the Kemmel Straight once again, Bryant in that slipstream pops out to take the inside line. No defensive move from the McLaren. Is he going to get it done on the brakes? Oh, and that's a bit of contact there.
That was a bit sloppy.
That was a bit sloppy. That one will no doubt go to the stewards. And oh, a bit sloppy there from Alvarez as well. He could find himself with a slap on the wrist from the in-game stewards for being on the inside of the left-hand curbing then. He does take the inside line to go defensive, unlike Rosenthal did. We'll get confirmation on the gap between those two. Rosenthal did sail across the curbing. We will no doubt see Simon disappear into the steward's box very shortly. Pixley will be hoping to take third position here. He's got Alvarez ahead of him. He also had a bit of a break from Simon. He took a year off, but to say he hit the ground running when he came back is somewhat of an understatement. For some of these alien level drivers, it really is like riding a bike. They just don't forget, but certainly the BMW coming under a lot of pressure at the moment from the Aston Martin of the Wild Things Racing. And they've had quite the race themselves. They actually served 5 seconds in the penalty for a contact during the race. and they still find themselves running in 4th position. So without that penalty, it's safe to say they would be running in 3rd. So getting back on the podium certainly won't be a surprise if and when they manage it. 32 minutes to go, much like the previous battle that we were watching. Plenty of time to eye up a move, potentially spot a weakness in your opponent's lap over a couple of laps. And eye up a move, although Alvarez showing him a good clean pair of heels through the campus complex and into Blanchimont. He's got almost a second of a gap then, so no slipstream advantage there for Pixley into the bus stop chicane. Alvarez will comfortably hold on to 3rd for this lap. This will be a good battle right down to the end. Kildashev still out on track. Of course, Dewig does have a marker next to his name, says he needs to pit. The team were disconnected from the server, and when they rejoined, their second driver did take over. So we're more than happy to accept that as a driver swap having taken place. So if they can get the fuel tank all the way to the end, they are running 15th and at the back of the pack in the GT3. So yeah, no point in bestowing extra punishment upon a team when they haven't actually made a mistake themselves. It's a server issue for them. Thomas Morant, another one of the Porsche drivers, he came off track on his out lap and ended up having to make it an in lap and came in to get himself some damage repaired. That really is dragging quite badly now. But he finds himself on the back of Clark, trying to get up to 12th place. The only really upside from this is they'll have no success ballast for Brands Hatch. But as I've mentioned it, Simon, they kind of flop back and forth. The penalties at Brands Hatch will have exactly the same impact that they've had here at Spa, because the pit lanes are comparatively the same size for each track, i.e. you lose 69% of your lap, or lose 69% of lose 69% of a lap time of a lap coming into the pits at Spa, and it's exactly the same at Brands Hatch. Zolder, one of the biggest on the calendar, 77% you lose coming into the Zolder pit, so that's definitely the one you massively want to avoid. While things closing in still on the ST Racing, and Thomas Morant in the Porsche up the inside on the NOV2 car and gets that overtake done. He'll cross the F1 finish line and take 12th place. And continues charge in the Porsche. No Porsches inside the top 5. And Ludeman is losing a bit of time to Filipiak. He's lost 2 seconds. So it will be close between the end. If he can keep doing what he's doing, 6th place is definitely on the cards. But Filipiak can definitely close in there if he keeps this up. So that'll be an interesting one come the end of the race as well. There is Clark there trying to hang on to the back of the Porsche. So we do see a Porsche winning.
The demise of the Porsches, you know.
Yeah.
37 and the number 7, they're race winning teams. They were inside the top 5. Setup errors, driver errors, whatever it may be, the Porsches aren't having a good day of it today.
Yeah, no, they really aren't. They really aren't, and it's the GT, and in the GT4s, of course, the Jeanette is leading the way. Kildashev still on track, leading the way. These GT4 cars, Simon, they have got monstrous petrol tanks compared to their GT3 big brothers.
Yeah, that was the thing. Even in the 3-hour Silverstone race, the GT4s only needed to make 1 stop. The entire thing, they can go almost 2 hours on 1 tank of fuel. So yeah, that's why Kildashev is still in the lead. I'm not sure why they did that though, because the tyres must be screaming at them, doing well over 90 minutes on 1 set of tyres. It's definitely the slowest strategy because the tyres are just going to be so worn out. I know they've got 42 seconds over Ulrich and then 52 seconds over Danny Bayston in second. But they're going to drop right down the order because I can't even think what the pit stop is here, John. Is it something like 80, 90 seconds?
Yep.
So 90 seconds in the pit stop, plus you're on the slower strategy by staying out so long on one set of tyres. Not sure why they've done that. So
Yeah.
115 has come in. Is that that's definitely an unscheduled stop. The 115. Is there damage on that? Can we click on
Yeah, that was the Race Ventura team. They've been carrying damage since the start.
Of course they have.
Yeah, daily in
Did
the
they pick up any
car.
more damage?
Potentially it did. The car doesn't look any worse than it did.
It's already battered.
Yeah, it already does look like it's been through the wars, as we say. But yeah, it doesn't look any more damaged than it previously was. But yeah, it just maybe because yeah, with damage like that, Simon, to your aerodynamics, that cannot be healthy for your tyres. I mean, we're talking about the tyres in the GT4 screaming. With your aero off like that, the extra load on your tyres or the extra weight on your tyres, you're going to run through them potentially a lot quicker. As we can see, they've just popped back and the car is fully repaired. So yeah, that must have been, yeah, as I say, Simon, yeah, stuff like that, the aerodynamics on, I mean, the GT4s, they're tanks. You can crash them into walls all day long. They don't have much to speak of in the way of aerodynamics. Oh, and that's Wild Things Racing making contact with the GT4 on-track leader. That's Pixley just up the inside there on the exit to Melmaday. He was looking
at the same car that they had an incident with earlier on in the race as well, which is why they picked up their 5-second penalty previously.
Okay. So yeah, so coming through Melmaday, the BMW makes his way through. Oh, that's an interesting one for the stewards to look at. Potentially, well, at first glance, it looks like the GT4 was unaware there was a second car about to appear behind them. Certainly, we'll see if that one goes in. But yeah, so Pixley will have to rebuild that momentum. Ooh, and that puts paid to that battle. Congratulations to Alex Ludiment and Team FWR, 6th position. Now looks to be firmly sealed as Misha Filipiak picks up a drive-through penalty for violating track limits. Not only that, he's got Leon Seeley about to take a position from him on track as well. So Misha and the Simulation Esports drivers, another trip into the pits for themselves. This time a drive-through. So that is going to be a few positions lost there. Ekman, oh yeah, they should just about hang into the top 10. But yeah, but we'll see what happens there. Is Daniel Williamson bringing up the rear of the field in the GT4s at the moment for the GT Marquee team. He's just been overtaken by Matej and Hisley. Out in 7th place. In 6th, it's Kanika. Then it's Santanen. In 5th, Kadzelia. In 4th, Baisden. In 3rd, Ulrich. In 2nd, and Kildashev in the pits. From 1st place on track, we have given the race lead to Ulrich as he is already approaching the pit entrance and making his way past before Kildashev is even at his pit box. So himself and Danny Baisden should comfortably make it past. So too will Kadzelia. Mika Santanen then. Can he get back out in front? That one is going to be a bit close. So potentially a top 5 on the cards from there. There's Filipiak coming in to take his drive-through. So that'll be Strachan re-promoted the position. Ekman will make it through. So too, I think, will Thomas Morant. Back up to 11th. He'll certainly be grateful of that extra position. Dewey through. There's Kildashev just coming to a stop. That was Danny Baisden flying past there. Opel Rouge and Radion. Here comes Kadzelia past as well. Santanen round the source. Kildashev still stationary. Pit box 2 as well. Got himself as close to the ice as possible. Mika Santanen. He's got the position back as well. Kanika is just coming to the source as well. So it's a lot of positions dropped so far for Kildashev and the team.
That's really hurt the 313 Filippi, hasn't it? Dropped right down the elbow. Many beneficiaries of that one as well. Thomas Morant looks like he may actually be on for a top 10 after that first lap incident coming out of the pits, having all that damage and drop to the rear of the field. The top 10 could actually be on, considering everything else that's happened to him. And I'm sure Seeley's going to be happy that he's moved up to 7th place in the 324 after Marcus Djusma found himself at the rear of the field with damage and the 10-second success penalty to third also. So a good recovery from Seeley in the 324 to find himself in the top 7. And Pixley's just dropped off the back of the triple line ever so slightly as well, to be fair. I thought it was going to be a mighty battle for the top 3 in GT3. Obviously Tom Bryant had that little incident with the McLaren, and I thought Pixley might have been able to get Alvarez before the end of the race, but he's actually dropping back now, so where I thought it might be completely changed to the top 3, looks like it might have just settled in the positions. And the reason why Danny Basin has dropped off the back of the 41 job was because there was actually incidents between teammates. The GT3 car of the 324, when Marcus Djusma was behind the wheel, he didn't see it, I can't find the replay, but on one of the laps there was just a small bit of contact between teammates which sent the Triple Eight off track, and that's why they've lost 13 seconds now to Ulrich.
Right, okay. So yeah, that gap definitely opening up there. So yeah, a bit of Haas action from the SOP team. Or Renault. Doesn't matter where Magnussen and the other guy are driving, really, does it? They're going to come together. But yeah, Ransbar looking to improve on his position. He's got Clark for the NOV2 team just ahead of him, looking to get up in the 12th position with 21 minutes left to go. Dewig has come back into the pits for the Vivid Global Racing team. So potentially that is for fuel, because it was very early that they disconnected. Ransbar, okay, he got out of the way because the race leader, second place. Tom Bryant is just made his way through, so that's blue flags there. I wonder why he suddenly dropped out of that battle, but that would explain why. So yeah, Bryant back to within 6 seconds then of Rosenthal. Rosenthal a second lap down at the minute as well on Bryant. So it is going to get very close again towards the end. Very spread out at the moment, right through the field with Ransbar doing his bit. Oof. Well, I say it's spread out during the field. There's blue flag action right the way through, as we can see cars literally everywhere. Vivid Global Racing. It's Waizy who's come back out then. So he is doing a second stint, so another trip into the pits. I don't think they would have made up a position, but it's good to see the dedication. They got disconnected to come back out, and just to make sure they dotted the I's and crossed the T's. They did another driver swap and cleared that mandatory one in their box. Ransbar's got a bit of damage on the front of that car still. Definitely won't be helping his cause to get past Clark and the blue flags as well. He's got 19 minutes to do so. Bryant having some difficulty making his way through the traffic. He's lost another 0.3 of a second to Rosenthal. That is a big chunk of traffic you can see behind him. So that would certainly explain why the gap has extended ever so slightly. But he's got, what do we reckon then, Simon? Given the pace that he's shown early doors, I mean, with 34 minutes to go and he had 6 seconds, that was looking like it was definitely doable, and he closed that up massively. 18 minutes to go, 5.7 seconds the gap. And he's going to hit a bit more traffic as well. Do we think Connection Lost Racing are going to bring home another win here, or is it going to be 5th podium but another 2nd place?
Yeah, I think the McLaren may hold on at this stage of the race. Obviously, if they've got GT4 traffic to get through, so will Connection Lost Racing when they catch up to it. So yeah, I just think the Connection Lost Racing will have a bit of damage on that front end as well, as long as McLaren can keep it clean. I don't see an issue at this stage of the race. Tom Bryant's not going to be able to close up as quickly as he has done before because of the extra damage. And so we may just want to consolidate a second place here. Like I said, heading into Brands Hatch, it's harder to overtake. They know they've got the pace to be on pole position. If they can go to the next round still leading the championship with the success penalty that's not as severe as it can be, they may be playing the long game rather than just going for a straight up victory. That's what I would probably do.
Well, yeah, as you say, avoiding that penalty can definitely be massively beneficial, as we've seen. I mean, the rookie monsters got the win last time out, 22nd penalty, now find themselves in 8th place, obviously. Being in the Porsche, not doing them many favours either. But
not
yeah,
only that, John, as well, is when you look at the championship table, you know, the closest rivals, second place is the number 7 Porsche machine with Tom Smarron and Peter Brett. They're going to have a horrendous result here outside of the top 10. The 324 Aston Martin are sitting in 3rd in the championship. They've had a decent recovery at this stage, but still only a 7th place. So they're going to fall even further behind the 404 machine. And the number 10 machine, who sits 4th in the standings, they're already outside of the top 3, and they're going to be heading into the next round with 0 success penalties to be applied unless they want to take the top 3 and challenge Alvarez in the 999. But again, they seem to be falling away from that top 3. So some of these teams may be playing the long game, and if I was Tom Bryant in the 404, I would probably be happy with a second place finish here rather than going to the next round with maximum ballast, knowing that others around me in the championship also are going to be heading into the next round without any ballast at all.
yeah, it's definitely going to play into their hands at Brands. Play into their hands at Brands. I was trying to think another way to word that without sounding like a cheesy ring with a temper. There we go. But yeah, Morant in that 11th. Filipiak, the gap there, can he get himself into the top 10 as well? 6.5 seconds is the gap there. Lap on lap, he is close to a second quicker. And we reckon about 6 laps left, maybe 5. It's going to be close there for a top 10 for Morant. Every point massively, massively important then for all the teams. Rosenthal still 5.7 seconds to the good then, so he is maintaining that gap at the moment. Bryant,
8 laps left.
there's what, 8 laps left?
I think so, yeah.
Alright, okay, yeah, because when they cross the line they'll get another one. Alright, okay, so 8 laps. Eight laps, a second a lap. Okay, so Morant, if you can keep up this pace then, looks like in the last couple of laps he will be within striking distance. Which again, that would be a phenomenal performance. In the Porsche, we've just got some stewarding coming in. Zolotarev for the F1 Mean team. Okay, 5-second penalty for causing a collision. I am assuming, Simon, that would be the contact with number 10, the GT3, while things on the way to Melmedy.
That was the collision, yes. Upon reviewing that one, you know, obviously the 555 moved out of the way to let the 999 pass, and then they just completely closed the door and swiped the front end of the number 10. There was nothing that the Wild Things racing team could actually do there. So yeah, that's why there's a 5-second penalty for the 555 for causing that contact.
Yeah, and it's given Pixley a bit of work. He's getting the work done though. Over the last lap, he was a second. Again, another driver a second quicker than the driver ahead. But it is Pixley who is closing in on Alvarez. Should be within striking distance again, within 2 laps. And we've got 7 or 8 to go. Depending on where the leaders are in their lap, just makes his way past Santon and then in 4th for the GT4s. The GT4 podium looking fairly sewn up at the moment with Martin Ulrich for the McLeod Racing team. They're going to strengthen their grip at the top of the table. They've already got a 12-point gap over the SOP Ginetta, and this is going to be another race win, bringing them the maximum haul of points. Again, it will bring them the maximum amount of ballast next week at Brands Hatch, but Baysden is in second place. They are the car chasing in the championship, and Black Snow look like they could be the big beneficiaries here. Third in the championship, and they'll avoid ballast. Third in the championship, and they're currently avoiding ballast at next week's race. That's going to go to Simulation Esports, who are in fact in fourth, just behind Team Black Snow. So these two swapping positions on track as they have in the championship. So the battle for the top 3 spots in the GT4s absolutely wide open. 72 points for Black Snow Racing before this race started. 71 points for Simulation Esports. So yeah, very, very, very close there in the GT4 side. Only a point separating third and fourth. They're currently third and fourth on track, which means one of them's going to have success ballast next week. One of them's not, which means that it's probably going to find one of them with success ballast the following week, and one of them not. So that, yeah, the top 3 spots in this are the GT3s, guaranteed to go right down to the last race.
Yeah, I mean, we're finding the success penalties that are used in the real GT, the British GT, is a rather good one to utilise in virtual racing as well, because it's really making these championship battles really tight up and down the field as the races go by. No one is usually a shoehorn in for victory at any round. Obviously it all plays out as the race unfolds, but yeah, this is why there's been 3 different winners in GT4s, many different teams on the podiums. This is why there's been 4 different winners in the GT3 class with many different teams on the podiums. But, you know, as the season progresses, naturally the top 2, 3, 4 teams do tend to show themselves in the championship standings. But yeah, as the rounds go by, it's produced a fantastic championship so far. Like I said, some teams separated by 1 or 2 points. So yeah, the last 2 rounds of Brands Hatch for 2 hours and the last round of Donington for 2 hours. No position in the championship table is decided until that final race is done. It's going to be a fantastic one to see.
Yeah, it really is. Another grandstand finish, just like the race is. The championships do like to come right down to the wire. We're just on board with Leon Seeley at the moment. He is trying his best to catch up to Ludiment ahead of him. He's got a 7-second gap currently to overturn despite their success ballast. The Aston has done well, getting themselves back up into 7th. Morant is closing in on it, is now Ekman in 10th. We've got Ransbar currently being stalked. He's been followed pretty much. That is Waizi, who is that extra lap down due to the disconnect that they suffered, but they did rejoin. It's got them another 2-minute penalty. So we'll maybe take some time off their pit stop next race, just to make it up to them. But Ransbar still carrying that damage, but still running comfortably in 12th place, with Daly 18 seconds down the road. Not a great race for the 115 car. They've done well this season, the Race Ventura team. They've found themselves on the podium, never any further out of it than 7th place. They did miss race 1, which is why they're not as in contention, but they've been back into the pits, and it's actually Jordan Daly who's back out behind the wheel. So they did swap drivers again when they came in to get that damage fixed. That is Pixley just ahead through turn 1. He's now within 1.5 seconds of Albi Alvarez. And up at the front, I think Rosenthal, 4.2 seconds. So suddenly a big drop in the time there. Pixley making his way, 1.5 seconds. Who do we think? Who If you were going to put your money on one of the cars getting an overtake, would it be Pixley getting past Alvarez, or do we think Brian can overturn it over Rosenthal in the closing 8 minutes? Because that gap has suddenly massively dropped as Rosenthal's hit a bit of traffic.
My money would be on no position changes at all, John.
Here we go.
Not for the top 4 or 5 slots anyway. If anything, we'd probably see Morant move up into the top 10. He's only 1.1 seconds adrift of Ekman. He's got 7 minutes to close up 1 second. I think he'll do that. Actually, the time that was just updated, that's only 0.3 of a second actually, so he might be making a move on this lap to get inside the top 10. But everyone else, I think, is pretty spread out and even on pace at this stage of the race with just 7 minutes to go. Even though Tom Bryan is closing that gap to the leader, I don't think he'll be able to make a move before the end of the race.
Morant is in the last chicane though, and on the exit to the last chicane it is 10th position for Thomas Morant, getting that one done very handily indeed. So another position and another few points clawed back then. The SOP Porsche driver doing exactly what he needs to. 5 seconds down on Filipiak with 6 minutes to go. Can he pull off more miracles and get caught up? Certainly wouldn't put it past him. He's got himself and Brett absolute otherworldly pace in that Porsche. Ekman hanging into the slipstream. It's more often than not in this race we've seen the Porsches being dragged along. But there is the Porsche now returning the favour for one of the McLarens. Into the Melody Complex, signed, sealed and delivered for Morant into 10th place. As I say, 5.1 seconds of a gap he's got to make up. Pixley still 1.1 seconds, sorry, so that gap's just dropped by 4/10 on that last lap. He can definitely see Alvarez just ahead of him once again on that long Kemmel straight. Ekman still close to Morant. The GT4s doing exactly what they need to. Ulrich Beesden and Kadzelia got the podium positions there firmly wrapped up. Santonin 29 seconds down on them. But again, he won't have any ballast. Their car won't have any ballast for the next race at Brands. So that brings them right back into contention in that race, and we can see Pixley, he's just coming up to the GT4 race leader. Up the inside, very nicely done, just hangs on. That was a bit close, but he got it done beautifully. That's what makes these guys alien level, managing to hang on the outer edges of the curbing like that. Pixley really doing everything they can to close this gap. It's Aston versus BMW for sure in the closing stage. It's now down to 1.2 seconds exiting campus and on the way into Stavolo. The gap now to within half a second. So Simon's no overtake prediction is looking a bit thin at the moment. On the way into Blanchimont, that's a lot of slipstream for the Aston. He's got a great exit out with Stavolo, and he's using that slipstream beautifully right on the outside. They're going to go surely side by side into the final chicane. Let's get a look from above. We've seen a couple of overtakes into the chicane. Doesn't get it done this time. Opens up the corner for the exit so you can try and get side by side. The McLaren in the background with a beautiful view of the battle that we're watching here. 4 minutes left to go into La Source. It's Alvarez on full defend as Pixley is on full attack. Tries to go round the outside at La Source. Gets a good line, but the BMW gets a good run down the hill. Can Pixley use the slipstream once again? We saw music successfully to close the gap along through Blanchimont. Up Eau Rouge and Radion. Oh, and that is track limit violations. We've seen one car into the pits already with a drive-through. I did expect to see a few more, I'm not going to lie. Look at the slipstream differential then. pulls along side by side. Let's see this one from the air, and Alvarez manages to defend again, opens up on the corner exit, and Pixley goes right back round the outside. He definitely saw that coming. He's got the inside line on the exit to Malmedy. The run down the hill, enough room was left, a bit of a wiggle from the BMW to avoid contact. He's come back over, there was contact on the straight. They're going to go side by side down in a double ghost, and it's the Aston Martin that's got his nose in front then. Titanic battle between the two of them, but Pixley has closed on that gap, and he's got himself a phenomenal move. Oh, and Alvarez really running wide on the exit. All four wheels on the AstroTurf car having a bit of a wiggle, but it is Pixley for the wild things. Going to get themselves gifted a 10-second prize for the pit stops next week. Now that they've got themselves up onto the podium. Phenomenal battle there, Simon. And despite being involved in a couple of contacts, one deemed to be their fault, one deemed to be the same GT4 car's fault, they've had a phenomenal drive between Pixley and his teammate Langford. And up onto the podium, no mean feat in this field.
Yeah, awesome battle to get themselves back up onto the podium. I'll eat my words once again. Wild Things Racing doing what's needed to be done to get a podium finish again. Ben Langford was obviously stint 1. Mr. Pixley is stint 2. They had a small penalty to deal with. And yeah, worked their way back up onto the podium positions. That was a fantastic, clean battle. The small little side-by-side door banging is nothing really, a bit of Rubbins racing. Really good stuff between those two drivers, as we're seeing Alvarez actually have a bit of a bigger issue behind with someone trying to unlap themselves, as Alvarez has lost 2 places in half a lap. I say lost 2 places, he's just let a back marker through. Jordan Daly, Race Ventura, faster at this stage of the race, and Pixley's away and gone then, like fairy dust.
Probably. Oh, excuse me.
You're right there, John. It wasn't that good.
Yeah, no, it's easy seeing you've got kids too. Yeah, that was very good indeed. Tom Bryant putting in some really quick laps. He's actually 3/10 up currently on the fastest lap of the race. It will be too little too late at the moment. He has closed the gap pretty impressively, though. 2.9 seconds is now the difference between him and the race leader. But it does look like Mikhail Rosenthal then was on for the podium. There was a bit of an incident, but it was Rosenthal in the McLaren that came out on top, and he is 2.6 seconds to the good. There's 17 seconds left. So I'm assuming when he crosses the line here, it will be to take the checkered flag. As I said, the F1 Memes team, they've got 2 teams, one in the GT3s, one in the GT4s, both in 9th position in their respective championships. They've had a best place so far this season of 6th. And last week they finished in 13th. The timer has run out, so it is the final chicane. And it is Mikhail Rosenthal and his teammate Tamir Cholukin for the F1 Memes team that will take the race victory. So congratulations to them across the line. Not too far behind the tall Tom Bryant for Connection Lost Racing takes second, and Richard Pixley for the Wild Things Racing after a phenomenal race from him and his teammate. The checkered flag awaits, and it will be for a spot on the podium. Albi Alvarez, like a phoenix from the ashes. He's been out of sim racing for a year, and he really has hit the ground running. That's 4th place here for Team SOP, with himself doing the 2nd stint. Wolfgang Snalsger for Horman Racing comes across the line to take 4th place. And in the GT4s, phenomenal battling between McLeod Racing and SOP early doors, as McLeod Racing to come out on top and strengthen their grip at the top of the championship. Checkered flag to take top spot. Here comes Danny Baisden for SOP. Oh, a bit of damage on that Ginetta into the bus stop chicane though, and he will round the last corner in the Ginetta. Takes a checkered flag. 2nd spot on the podium for Danny. Congratulations. And it is Matthias Kudzelia for Simulation Esports rounding out the podium for the GT4s. Phenomenal racing there, Simon. And yeah, everything that our championship leaders needed to do pretty much done with Bryant and Ulrich finishing on the podium. But it's certainly going to get interesting going into the last week, given that Wild Things Racing finished ahead of Albi Alvarez and the SOP teams in the GT3s. And yeah, Danny Baisden finishing in second, Kudzelia finishing ahead of Santanen in the GT4s.
Yeah, going to shake up the championship heading into the final 2 rounds, which is exactly what we love to see, because it keeps us talking in the commentary box whilst no one is clearly pulling away in the championship standings. Apart from that team on stream now, the 404 Connection Lost Racing, they're now going to extend their championship lead heading into the final 2 rounds. It may be a job done, even though the championship isn't wrapped up. It might be too much for another team to catch them now, unless they have 2 horrendous rounds. And as you can see there, the 47 McLaren is rather happy with that race victory here today. Donuts on the start-finish rate. I've never understood why they start coming down the hill and then they finish at the top here. What would be a really good addition, I just actually thought of it now, is with Spa-Francorchamps, you should be able to switch it between the 24-hour version and the British GT version, because British GT actually starts at the top here as well. So they start the race and finish the race at the top here where the finish line actually is.
Yeah, exactly. I think I agree with you completely. That would definitely make a lot more sense. The source would be fun on turn 1, but I'd rather have the sources turn 1 than Ocean Radion.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. Exactly.
Because those are hard work. Quick rundown of the final results. It is a Janetta 1-2 with Ulrich and Baisden, as I say, cross line Kudzelia for Simulation. In third, Santanen came across the line for the Black Snow team in fourth, with Spinala in fifth, Zoltarev in sixth, Hisley and Williamson 7th and 8th. And in the GT3s, it's Rosenthal and Bryant crossing the line first and second, Pixley third. Alvarez got fourth for SOP, then it was Horman with Snalsger crossing the line in fifth. FWR with Ludeman in sixth, SOP in seventh. Strachan and Tavanari for Rookie Monsters in 8th, then it's Simulation Esports in 9th, SOP in 10th, Team Ekman in 11th, then it's Iran Racing in 12th, Race Ventura, well alrighty then, finished in 13th place with Clark and Corwig, in 14th Weisy and Dewig for Vivid Global Racing in 15th, and Bunyan and Rollins not finishing the race. That was the final results. This is the calendar that we still have. We've got 2 races left to go, and that is not working for me. It is Brands Hatch next. Please work. Yeah, so it's Brands Hatch next. We've got 2 hours there, and then 2 hours of Donington Park. What a track, Donington. What a way to end. Honestly, it's calendars like this that make me glad I commentate. Because, yeah.
I agree there, John. Well, just like the real life Donington Decider, a 2-hour race, all to play for. It's going to be a fantastic ending to a fantastic championship.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. Some highlights on the screen to end the broadcast. Big thanks before we go, though. Azzy, sorry, I didn't see your follow during the broadcast 10 minutes ago. That was just right through as everything was ending there. So, Azzy, thank you for the follow, along with Crash Neck. 82828282828. Thank you for the follow. Evolution, Diamond Klomp, which is, of course, Dutch for Diamond Clog, which is what Cinderella wears in Holland, was confirmed in the chat. Medolka Makatov, apologies again, Team Mirchi looking, and Joinix, that'll be Tim Joiney, all giving us a follow as well. Thanks to everyone, of course, that took part in the race. And big double thank you to Simon who was on stewarding and commentary duties this weekend. So big thanks, Simon.
Yeah, double the workload for me today. All good. Love to join you in the commentary booth as always.
You're only saying that because you mean it. Right, let's have a look. I tell you what, Ben Langford's on. Will we go and raid him?
If you're staying on, we don't mind doing that at all.
Yeah, let's do that. Now we've said that, watch me not be able to get it to work again. No, just saying invalid username. Okay, so yes, we will end it there. We will be back on Wednesday night. Or is it an off week this week? No, I've said that.
For the Sprint Championship. Good question. Let me have a quick look. March the 22nd for the final round.
So nothing on Wednesday, and nothing on Tuesday. But we will be back with more from this championship, from the Brands Hatch 2-hour race. That March the 19th, so next Sunday, same time, same place, 2 hours, same teams, and 2 championships up for grabs. So until then, stay safe, take it easy, and have a great rest of your Sunday night. Good night.